All right, I now call the September 9th, 2025 Local Government Commission meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for being here, both in person and online. There's so many attendees that I'm not going to go through everyone by name, but we appreciate your attention to these important matters. A couple administrative things, and then I'm going to hand it over to Denise to run the meeting. First, we welcome Tracy Johnson to the commission. Excuse me. Getting emotional, apparently. We're looking forward to you bringing your long expertise to these matters. So excited to have you, and the governor has appointed her through 2029. Also, Nancy Hoffman's been reappointed by the governor through 2029. So welcome back. Appreciate your service. I want to mention John Burns, who rotated off the commission. He provided fantastic service to the commission for a number of years, particularly given his experience in Wake County. So thank you, Mr. Burns, for your time and service to the commission. So with that, I've always found it a little odd that the treasurer ran these meetings. Certainly, as a member of this board, I want to have a voice and opinion, but the truth is the commission and the staff does all the work. And so going forward, what I'd like to do is have the secretary run the meeting, because you're going to want to hear from her much more than you want to hear from me. And so we'll do that going forward. And with that, I will hand Denise Canada the gavel to run the meeting.
And it has nothing to do with the fact of what's on the agenda.
No.
Thanks so much. Go ahead and ask Cindy to call the roll and describe the meeting process and any housekeeping you have.
All right. I'm Cindy Aiken, Assistant General Counsel, and we will start with our members. Usually start with Secretary Marshall, but she is ably represented by Bill Toole today.
Here.
He's here in the room first. And Auditor Bolick.
Here.
Secretary Wooten.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
So far, everyone's in the room. And Ms. Harvey. Here. Thank you. She's virtual today. Councilwoman Hoffman. Here in the room. Commissioner Johnson. Here. Mr. Stiff.
Here.
Thank you, virtual. And Treasurer Briner.
Here.
Obviously here. So everyone's present and accounted for. Thank you. For the staff today, Secretary Denise Canada and Director of Fiscal Management, Kendra Boyle, Director of Debt Management, Jennifer Wimmer, Laura Rowe, our Director of Policy and Compliance, already said who I am, and we have Lindy Skinner and Jennifer Braley helping us with our AV production today. The meeting is being recorded, will be made available to the public pursuant to our department's recording of public meetings policy. Especially today, we'll ask everyone, please try to remember to identify yourself when you speak, or if it's your turn to speak. It very much helps those who are listening online and for the recording. If you are participating virtually, that is members and of course other participants, please try to mute yourself if you're not speaking. Generally, the recording continues even if there might be a glitch in the microphone or something, but we obviously try to get that fixed. But just keep in mind that, as Lindy already mentioned, the microphones are extremely sensitive, and you might be recorded when you didn't want to get over here. The agenda has been posted on the website. If we have changes to the order or changes on the agenda, that will be announced by the chair, secretary during the meeting. As per our usual process, our votes are taken by roll call. Without objection, your motions and seconds will be considered as a yes. We'll skip you during the roll call unless you want to change that to a different vote. One more time, and I say this every month, I will remind myself, try not to rustle my papers. You would be surprised how sensitive the microphones are. So thank you for your cooperation, and do kindly, quietly walk outside if you need to. I believe I've covered it all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag of North Carolina. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. I salute the flag of North Carolina. I pledge to the whole North State, love,
loyalty, and faith.
Thanks. Members, now I'll read the conflict of interest statement. Please take a moment to review the agenda. Commission members are reminded of your duty to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any member have an actual or potential conflict of interest with respect to any matter on the agenda? All right, hearing none. Let's move to the minutes from the August 5th, 2025 meeting. You have those in front of you and they were sent out. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about the minutes?
Move approval, Madam Secretary.
Second.
All right. Cindy, will you call the roll?
And I hear second.
That's all.
Oh, thank you.
Second
Okay.
is all.
Okay, thank you. All right, August 5th minutes. And actually, Commissioner Johnson, I didn't mention this before. You are obviously free to vote. I think you probably kind of know the basic rules of recusal and abstention, but just because you weren't here for the last meeting does not prohibit you from approving minutes. All right, motion Wooten, second Hoffman. Mr. Toole.
Yes.
Thank you. Auditor Bolick.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Harvey.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Treasurer.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. The minutes are approved. Now I'll call your attention to attachment A. This is not a voting item, but again, something that we share with you every month to bring it to your awareness. A schedule of OPEB and pension liabilities for the units that are on the agenda for debt consideration. As usual, what you'll see is that most of the units on this handout are underfunded on their OPEB liabilities. So Raleigh Housing Authority is the only item on this list that is overfunded. And unfortunately, as you know, but I'm sorry to tell you, the state of North Carolina is in the same situation as most of the units on this sheet, something that we continue to work toward improving. And we expect local governments to also work on improving their status on their OPEB liabilities. Again, no vote, just for your information. Next, we will go to the UAL unit on the list, or that is on the list for debt approval under UAL. I'll turn it over. This is attachment B, Norwood, and I will turn it over to Jennifer and Kendra to present this item, starting with Jennifer.
Good afternoon, Commission. The town of Norwood is coming to the Commission under Section Law 2022-53 requirements for towns or units on the UAL list to come for their vehicles. This is $130,289 for 2 police vehicles through Enterprise Fleet Management. And I will turn it over to Kendra to discuss their financials.
Sure, thank you. So the town of Norwood has been on the unit assistance list since 2016, and this has mainly been due to internal control issues. The last compiled financial statement published, the last compiled unit assistance list that has been published included them on it due to those internal control issues related to not doing timely reconciliations, some budget ordinance violations. In fiscal year 24, we saw them have some internal control concerns related to year-end closing processes and also segregation of duties. To address those things, the unit has been able to get their bank reconciliations caught up, and they have implemented some segregation of duty actions, which involve appointing a deputy finance officer so that there is more than one person in the unit that is looking at those financial transactions, and hopefully we'll be able to detect any errors that may occur and provide that extra internal control. So we believe that those actions taken properly and implemented timely will help them resolve these financial performance indicators of concern that we're seeing in fiscal year 24.
Thank you. Any questions from members about the item for Norwood? All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. This is Thomas.
Motion Stiff.
Second.
Second Wooten. Cindy, will you please call?
Okay. Town of Norwood's matter, Stiff Wooten. Mr. Tool.
Yes.
Thank you. Auditor Bullock.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Harvey.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Treasurer Briner.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
All right, thanks so much. Moving on to attachment C, this is debt approval requests for units with financial performance indicators of concern. Again, I will turn this over to Jennifer and Kendra.
The first two items are for the town of Edenton. I would ask the town representatives and their council to join us at the table. While they're doing that, I'd just like to go over a few high-level things, and then I'm going to turn it over to them to give a broader description. But these two items are intertwined together. One is installment purchase, or excuse me, installment financing contract for the construction of a building, as well as the some renovations at a fire department and the police parking area. In addition to that, there's an economic development portion of the project as a whole. Uses new market tax credits, which are very rarely seen by this commission, but they happen all over the United States. The project itself is to renovate this building so that an identified company could come in and provide jobs to the local citizens there for, economic development purposes. The second item is the lease of the management of the property. So it's a little bit confusing. I hope that in the information gave a broad outline, but I'm going to turn it over to the town and their council. They would identify themselves to go into greater detail.
And thank y'all for coming. You know, it's a complicated item when you get called up to the table up front. So I look forward to you walking the commission through it, and then we'll turn over to Kendra for you.
Great. So thank you. My name is Mary Nash Rusher with McGuire Woods. I'm bond counsel and new market tax credit counsel to the town in this transaction. This is a sort of a twofer, this approval, in the sense that both of these documents are about the same transaction. The new market tax credit transaction is a program that Congress created that encourages investment in severely distressed census tracts, and the town of Edenton qualifies for this investment. It is one that's designed to encourage either job creation or other types of public works that might be created. These have been used in North Carolina before for public bodies. Jones County built a K-12 school. Rocky Mount built an event center. Edgecombe Community College built their biotech center in downtown Rocky Mount, all using new market tax credits. In order to take advantage of these, however, the actual financing is done to a nonprofit that is separate from the town, separate from the county. That is because the government is not able to take advantage and to be a borrower for these types of tax credits just under the regulations. And so when we set these up, we always set up or use, in this case, an existing downtown economic development nonprofit that's been in existence for years in Edenton, will be the borrower of the proceeds of this tax credit financing, and will then lease the building that's being built to the town. So the town will make these lease payments that will then flow through the new market structure, but they will flow through the new market structure back to the town. The town puts its part of the money into the deal as a loan. It comes down to the nonprofit, goes out to the town, then leases it back. So these dollars come back to the town. But however, because it is a lease that supports a financing under the statute, you need to approve it. But that lease, which is going to produce the dollars that are needed to pay interest on a $7 million loan, that $7 million loan is made up of $5.4 million that comes through the installment finance contract, that is the other half of this, and the dollars that come from the investor for the investor tax credits. So the dollars that the town is paying in this lease payment will then be used to pay interest on the loan back to Southern Bank and Trust Company. So the lease, while you need to approve it, is not really a separate hit on their budget. It's the same dollars that will be used to pay the installment finance contract. The installment finance contract is being used for two things. It's two bar. The 5.4 will provide the dollars needed to purchase and then upfit building and parking for the economic development project. Sounds like I've been sort of saving that for like a hit, because I'm just talking the structure first, but that'll be the economic development project. The other 600,000 is to put a new roof on a building that will be a fire station and to purchase a parking lot. And those two assets will be the collateral, because the new market tax credit folks want the economic development building as their collateral, and mixing the two is very difficult. So I'm going to let Corey Gooden and Chess Chesson tell you about the economic development project, because they can talk about it a lot better than I can. I'm just telling you the structure. So Corey is the town manager.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, Corey Gooden, town manager. Jennifer Kendra, it's good to see you both. Commission as well. The town and the Main Street Edenton nonprofit, which is a close partner of ours, over the last year, were really looking for an economic development opportunity that most of these small communities see in these larger spaces. I think that adaptive reuse for downtowns has become very important for most of these small towns. Our economic developer and Main Street director, Chess Chesson, here was able to start some of those conversations. This project has the intent to bring 155 new jobs in the IT sector for our local community. That was very exciting. Chess, you want to go into a little bit more detail about Provalis and this project?
Sure. Chess Chesson, the Main Street Director and Economic Developer for Edenton and Chowan County. Like Corey mentioned, so Provalis is the tenant that basically started this project. I'm also the project lead in Edenton for Project Teapot. So Provalis, they were started in 2018, and their flagships in Bruton, Alabama. Edenton will be their third location in North Carolina, and the 11th in the nation. Their mission statement has been to locate in rural downtowns and provide IT services jobs in rural communities that traditionally don't have that sector. So we thought it was a great alignment to diversify our economy overall. And then Bruton was actually a new markets project, but none of their other locations have been new markets tax credits. So they are familiar with the concept. We were able to secure allocation in February. So we have allocation, and this is the last piece of the capital stack that we need to kind of close on the new market structure in the next 2 months. So overall, it's been a quick process, and Mary Nash has been crucial in getting us to this point. And I'm happy to answer any other questions about the project as a whole, but we're very excited, and the community is already applying for jobs. We expect to have them with a certificate of occupancy July of next year, assuming everything goes well and can continue forward.
We're happy to answer any questions about either the structure, the project, the financing, but Didn't
Thank
bring
you.
you a drawing.
Thank you. Kendra, do you want to go through please go through the epics first, and then we'll take questions about
Sure.
everything the town has described. Thanks.
Absolutely. So commission members, you have before you a summary of the financial performance indicators of concern that were identified in the fiscal year 24 audited financial statements. Those that I need to bring to your attention particularly are the fund balance available for appropriation percentage. As you know, the fund balance available is a reserve that's we like to see at a certain level in order to be there available for the unit to use in case of emergency or unforeseen events. We like to see for a unit that has the level of expenditures that Edenton has, we like to see at least 34%. The state average is 63%. The unit over the course of the last 3 years has dropped from 45% to 8.37%. So they have fund balance available to cover 1 month's worth of expenditures. So in response to that financial performance indicator of concern, the unit has explained to us that this is related to timing of grant and loan reimbursements. They have taken on some large capital projects, and they have required that the unit, for lack of a better term, front some of the money for those until they are reimbursed. So the expectation is that once these projects are taken care of, their construction is done, that there will be increased revenue, that there also will be the reimbursement of those funds, and we will see a rebound in this indicator of concern. Also note, please, that the water and sewer fund quick ratio is down to 0.87. So they cannot cover with their current assets all of their current liabilities as of fiscal year 24. That again is related to the timing of the reimbursements of the grants. They've had some large projects, not only in their water and sewer fund, but in their parks and in their airport. And so that is the largest part of this general fund decrease of their fund balance available. They have also in fiscal year 26, they have put in some increases to property tax rate. They also will be they've had a reevaluation. So they expect a 40 to 60% increase in the assessment from this revaluation, and do foresee that they'll be building more revenue into their general fund throughout fiscal year 26. And they've also, as well as services that they provide, they have increased some room there in their general fund and in their enterprise funds. So those were important information that I think you all needed to hear to make your decision on this request, these multiple requests for debt.
Thanks, Kendra. Questions? Yeah.
Have the large water and sewer reimbursements from 2024 been received now?
There's a handful of reimbursements we're still working for. There's some delays as a part of the transition from our normal payout with DEQ versus the incorporation of the new EBS system. So we're still working on that. I actually had a call today where we're trying to close out one of the last projects from fiscal year 24 that's still registered in that system. So that's been some of the delays, and we are still seeing some reimbursements for ones that were ARPA and grant funded from DEQ back in 22 and early 23, or 21 and 22. So yes, we're still receiving quite a bit of reimbursements there. Yes, sir.
I had a question. This is Thomas.
Commissioner Stith, go ahead.
And it would be for Mr. Chesson. I just heard there was a mention of job creation. Do you have a projection on jobs created, average salary, and then the comparison to the county average? Just trying to get a sense of the impact of the economic development.
Yes, sir. So NC Commerce has underwritten 61 jobs over 3 years above the county median income of 46,364. Our EDA that we're negotiating is for 155 over 5 years above the median income, or at median income. And we have a ramp schedule that's in that EDA as well over the 5-year period. And they've provided historical data based on their other 11 locations. And for all locations, they're about 2 years ahead of schedule on their hiring.
And it sounds like the demographic they're used to, they are focusing on rural communities. I believe I heard you say that earlier, correct?
Yes, sir. All of their other locations are in rural communities, specifically downtown, and large vacant spaces that we're not finding tenants for those large spaces anymore. Belks and Sears aren't coming downtown.
No. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Auditor.
Yeah, for the city manager, your finance department, what's your experience level there? What's your structure? Typically, what I've seen, and when municipalities get in stress, it's a lot of times there's turnover in the finance department, and there's lack of competencies in certain areas with respect to the management of the finances. And just like to hear from you, your confidence, or what your current position is with respect to your team.
Okay, perfect. So the finance director and myself are our most senior department heads. We've been with the town over 8 years. My previous 4 was as utilities director and now city manager. We both work together very closely on a good number of the water and sewer projects that we're relating to, as well as a lot of the ones that impact the general fund, that may be Partif, CDBG, et cetera. We're stable. One thing to note from the scorecard is there were no internal control points added there. I feel like our staff have worked through that back from 2017 when we first started. We have stability there within our office, and we've had no turnover over the last 4 years within our finance department or myself. So I think that we're stable. I do think for us, just like the 2024 audit, that there were corrections that we started to make as we received our final audit for 2024 that resulted in tax increases, that resulted in water and sewer increases, that resulted in electric increases across the board, because at that point we had a net position that showed that improvements were needed. I think the aggressiveness of some of the projects we've had to do to correct our utilities has been a big contributor to that.
Secretary Wooten.
Quick question. That since my time on the commission, this is the first time that I've seen a nonprofit in the equation. And council, I thank you for your very clear explanation around the why for the nonprofit. But I guess my question becomes, Kendra, the viability and sustainability of this nonprofit is kind of outside of our purview, but we would be relying on the town to have vetted very well this nonprofit to be the right one. And that will basically be on them and not us, really, for review.
That's correct.
Okay.
But-
So I assume that the town is very comfortable with this nonprofit and the sustainability.
I'll speak to that. So I run our Main Street America program, which was established in 2003. I was born and raised in Eatonton, went away for 15 years, then came back about 3 years ago with my young family. Didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, and found myself in this role, and it's been a great learning experience. So I'm very passionate and committed to Eatonton, and we have a long-standing history as a Main Street program. And we are a standalone nonprofit, but my office is right next door to Corey's, and we're fully committed to making sure Eatonton is strong and successful in the future.
And this is the Main Street America, former Destination Downtown, has been a local nonprofit partner for over 20 years with the town, and it's very heavily focused on economic development for our commercial historic district.
In addition, the town appoints 3 of the board members, the county appoints 3 of the board members, and chamber appoints some. That's a little bit of a laundry list after that, but it is very much that it's not like they're out there doing their thing without the town. The other piece is that in essence, they act as a conduit for the dollars, and this lender makes sure that those lease payments get paid into a controlled account and then come up to the lender. So not much the nonprofit can do with the dollars. They have some community benefits reporting obligations that they need to do, but they have to help make sure that our tenant, for example, provides information about the number of jobs, but it's a very intertwined relationship.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bond.
Mr. Toll.
Mr. Manager, when do you forecast that you'll hit your 34% fund balance threshold, assuming this loan will be approved?
So for us, we're drawing near the end of the majority of the larger projects we've done up front between the ARPA funding from the federal government as well as what we're seeing from DEQ. Currently, the town and the county are in their 2026 reevaluation period that we've shared with Kendra, and we've already forecasted some values with them. If you noticed in this year's budget that was shared, there was no fund balance appropriations that were taken, no additional loans to try to recoup that. Again, we also shared that our revenue projections had been very conservative and actually had been under for the last year or two. And for us, we anticipate that within a 2-year window, we should be very close to getting to the 34%, if not sooner. And so council will have a difficult decision on how fast they would like to do that when we get through this 2026 reevaluation.
So achieving the fund balance depends upon not changing the tax rate. Am I correct about that?
Yes, and so for us, the additional revenues that we've seen already for the repayment that we shared is more than enough cushion there, and council will consider how close to revenue neutral they would like to go.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilwoman
I
Hoffman.
just wanted to ask about the job creation. Do you anticipate that you've got a skilled workforce that many of these jobs would appeal to people who are already living there, or you would expect that maybe some would be outside the city and the county at this point?
So in our due diligence,
Lots of new people.
yes, ma'am. In our due diligence, and we, the manager, myself, and the mayor went down to Alabama to look at their flagship. 80% of their employee base is local, underemployed, either wait staff, they're looking for a career path with clear wickets to promote themselves. 20% usually, and I have those resumes in my inbox right now, that are looking to move to a small rural town, that quality of life, that have the managerial experience and the IT background. So that's the mix they've seen traditionally. And that's what, when they're doing their due diligence, they're looking for that underemployed workforce that doesn't have the opportunity to go into IT. Maybe they don't want to go to the 2 to 4 year college. They can't leave mom and dad. So they're in the community doing what they can to get by. And so that's kind of how they find their, and as they say, you don't have to know how to turn a computer on, they'll hire you and teach you. So that's what we see the real benefit, and the integration in STEM programming.
Thanks, that's encouraging.
School system.
Thanks for sharing that.
Any other questions or online? Commissioners? All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
Move the item.
Okay, for a second.
Second.
Secretary. I think Secretary Wooten might have beaten you to it. Either way. Either way.
No problem.
Either one. Many seconds.
All right, and we're to make it clear, 2 items being voted on together. Hoffman, Wooten, Mr. Tool,
Aye.
Auditor Bolick,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Harvey.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Thank you. And Mr. Steph,
Aye.
Mr. Reiner.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gary. Thank you to the Eatonton team for the crash course in new archetypes. Appreciate all that. All right, still in the FPIC units, we'll turn to Edgecombe County. Edgecombe County has many staff online, including, I believe, County Manager Evans. So thank you, Edgecombe County team, for logging on to join us. I'll turn this one over to Jennifer and Kendra.
The next unit to come to us is Edgecombe County for $5 million, a limited obligation bond. This is for a variety of items, including rolling vehicle stock, HVAC improvements, electrical improvements, and improvements to county buildings. Their loan is through JP Morgan, and it is estimated to be 4.258%. And I will turn it over to Kendra.
So Edgecombe County, I wanted to bring to your attention that this is a unit that has been on the unit assistance list every year since 2015. During those years, it's been for financial issues, for internal control issues, and then the most recently in fiscal year 24, they had the internal control issues that you see in your summary. We have just been working on reviewing the fiscal year 24 audited financial statements and the compilation of a new unit assistance list. And this, the county has been notified that they have been removed from the unit assistance list. They no longer score to be on it. And so they have been released. And I wanted to share with you that good news and that success, and make sure that the county heard that is what has happened, although they all have received a letter, so should know this already, but wanted to share that news with you.
Thanks, Kendra. Congratulations to the Edgecombe County team. I know that you have worked very hard to get off all sorts of lists, and the Clear the Lists initiative, I think you're calling it. So happy to see you getting off the UAL. Any questions from the commission about this debt? No questions. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hoffman, Commissioner Brown. Thanks.
Edgecombe County matter, Hoffman Brown. Cool.
Yes.
You. Rowley.
Yes.
Secretary Wooten.
Yes.
Harvey.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Fifth.
Yes.
Thanks. And a
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Moving on to Farmville and the $2 million in installment financing. Jennifer and Kendra.
Yes, Farmville is coming to ask for $2 million for an installment finance contract to build a fire department. As you notice on the agenda item, it does have other sources. It's got a United States Senate Community Project grant for $3.7 million, and the town cash contribution is going to be another $1 million. So their loan is through First Bank with an interest rate of 4.65% for 15 years. So it does have multiple sources, and I will turn it over to Kendra.
Thank you. So Farmville, their financial performance indicators of concern are summarized for you. And this is because they were on the unit assistance list based on fiscal year 23 audited financial statements. Those statements showed us a few things related to internal controls. The biggest item that put them on the unit assistance list in that year was that they had an investigative audit from the Office of State Auditor and with financial statement findings to it. In fiscal year 23, the audited financial statements showed that some of those ran into the fiscal year, but then there were also results that shown of the action plan that was put into place early in that fiscal year. So we have just recently again been working on the compiling the new unit assistance list, and Farmville was released from that list. So they were on the list for 1 year. And so wanted you to know that information, as well as the items of concern that appeared in fiscal year 24, but did not score them to be on UAL.
Thanks so much. Nice work, Farmville, and I believe that you are here in person, the town manager and the former manager. So nice work in getting off the UIL. Questions for Jennifer and Kendra? Treasurer Briner.
Just a couple quick questions around the other sources of funds. So the U.S. Senate Community Project Grant, I assume that's in hand already? They have it. Okay. And then the town cash contribution, does that make the fund balance ratio worse?
To my knowledge, the officials
No.
do it.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Auditor Bullock.
I have a question for the leadership in Farmville.
Why don't y'all come on up to the table? Just a minute. Thanks so much. Will you both introduce yourselves?
I'm Justin Oakes. I'm the town manager of Town of Farmville.
David Hodgkins, former town manager, recently retired, still working as a contract employee.
Justin, this is kind of a little bit of a left field question, but it's something that I've become familiar with based on an audit that our office is completing. And it has to do with disaster, really, funding that comes from disaster relief. And I'm wondering if the town of Farmville has a plan to insure the fire department with flood insurance. Because what happens is when you have a municipal facility like the fire department and it gets flooded out, that comes on the list of FEMA reimbursement and it gets mired into, and then there's a question of, can you even rebuild the fire department in the place that you built it, and spending a lot of money and a lot of planning money here to build that fire department. And with federal money, sometimes they won't let you build it right back where it was before. There's a lot of issues that relate to that. I won't go into details. Seems to me by your response, you understand what I'm talking about. I'm curious as to whether, because a lot of municipalities don't provide, for example, flood insurance. And I remember Floyd. And so I know that Farmville is that whole part of eastern North Carolina can be flooded.
Sure.
So I'm just curious as to the town's sort of position on, insuring a new fire department with flood insurance and that type of disaster. In response or in preparation of that.
Sure. And David, I think we've gone through the process. We are going to ensure that. But additionally, the site in which the fire department is located falls outside of the floodplain for the town of Farmville. So we would not anticipate any flooding issues where it's located. I think that was considered as a part of choosing the location site for the project. But yes, even if so, in the event, we would have flood insurance coverage.
Because a lot of people in Western North Carolina thought they were out of Florida too. So
yes, sir.
I just asked that because I do know that, when FEMA, for example, they survey, they're looking who's insured, who's not, and they go through that. It's a lot easier when the municipality has their facilities insured because you can rebuild it back the way it was and you put it back where you want. You don't have to, and you can get it done quicker. So, thank you. That was all I had.
Thanks so much. Any other questions on the commission on this item? Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Secretary Wooten, Auditor Bullock, thank you. Sorry, no further discussion. Thank you.
All right, hearing for Farmville, Wooten and Bowler, Mr. Tool,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Aye, yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Aye.
thank you. Councilman Hoffman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Treasurer Briner.
Yes.
Very much. Motion carries.
Thanks so much, Cindy. Last item in the FPIC section, there's a miscellaneous action item for Walnut Cove.
Walnut Cove is coming to request a loan of 0% from DEQ. This particular program, there's been many units that have come to the commission prior to this, and it's for the lead line service identification and repair. So the loan is $143,000, and it is to identify lead lines within their town water and sewer items, and then to look towards repairing those and abating the lead. And I will turn it over to Kendra.
Sure. So you do have your financial performance indicators of concern summary. I would like to point out that as far as the item of concern regarding the water and sewer fund cash flow, their water and sewer fund at Walnut Cove lost $388,000 in fiscal year 24. This is the third year of losses in this fund. So that is part of what caused it to be of concern to us. The town has explained that they have multiple projects that they're working on, and the plan is that when those projects are implemented, that construction in progress is done, that will not only increase the revenues that they're able to receive from their customer, from the addition of customers, because they've got this expanded water and sewer infrastructure, but it will also assist in their water and sewer capital asset ratio when they can be added, that construction that's now in progress can be added to their assets. They also had some budget violations that are of concern because they were related to transfers from the water and sewer fund to the capital project fund. They also were related to overexpending at the general government department level, and again in transfers to other funds. So there were multiple items under that were concerning to us. So I just wanted to point those out to you so that you can make your assessment of whether to approve or not.
Thanks, Kendra. Any questions from the commission? Mr. Toole?
Is there a forecast for when the operating loss will reverse?
Do we have any representatives from
Not that I know of.
Walnut Cove on the line? So that I don't know the answer to. These projects, having had 3 years worth of losses, that tells me that this has been ongoing. And so I would expect that these projects will be in the next year or two. And Walnut Cove has been added to the unit assistance list based on fiscal year 24 audited financial statements. So they will have a coach team member who is there to provide them some support and guidance.
Well, this is kind of a cash flow issue, right? So is there an expectation that the operating loss will increase or decrease in the coming fiscal year?
Their expectation is that it will be decreasing as their debt payments go down over time, and that they'll be able to bring gradually on customers as each phase of their projects are being.
But we don't know how quickly that'll.
Correct.
Let me jump in for a moment because I stand corrected, and we do have the town clerk, Amanda Bryant, on the line. Do you want to unmute Ms. Bryant? Ms. Bryant, do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thanks so much for being on the line. Do you want to re-ask your question?
Ms. Bryant, I don't know if you were listening or not. Did you hear the questions, or would you like me to repeat them?
Yes, I heard the questions, and if I'm yelling, it seems that way, I apologize. So the town, we experienced major growth. We had a lot of infrastructure projects that were not anticipated. We built a brand new town hall and a public works facility, which were grants through DEQ. Now, because of the growth that the town experienced, we had not budgeted correctly. The former town manager, he has retired. And so we have made those adjustments with the upcoming budget year to anticipate. We have 36 new homes coming. The projects are all but complete for the infrastructure that we have going on. We're actually finishing up one currently that will for our water side of the things. So the projects are wrapping up. One thing that you can't see, we are our wastewater treatment plant was one of the projects that we actually just paid that off. You can't see it in the 24 audit, but it will be in this upcoming audit. So technically we are debt free in that sense, but the increased revenues, we had a reeval year. So our budget this year is looking strong. We have a consultant that's been in governmental finance for 40-some years that we've actually got him to come in and help to look at our budget as well. So.
But I guess the question still remains, when do you see reaching revenue positive on the water and sewer fund?
I anticipate it in this year, this fiscal year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Other questions? Any discussion on this item? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve? Mr. Hoffman, any seconds?
Second.
Thank you, Treasurer Briner. All right, Cindy.
For the town of Walnut Cove, Hoffman and Reiner. Mr. Tool.
Aye.
Alder Boland.
Aye.
Secretary Wooten.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson. Aye. Mr. Stiff.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. And thank you, Ms. Bryant, for being on the line for this item.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to attachment D, the consent agenda and the miscellaneous action items. Does anyone have any items to remove from the consent agenda? And just a reminder that I did send out the additional item for consent, which is the Holly Springs item. Apologies about that. Sending that separately, that was staff's fault and not Holly Springs' fault. They were out on time. So, any items to remove from consent to vote separately? Hearing none. All right. Any discussion? Otherwise, we'll go forward with Secretary Wooten's motion. All right, do I hear a second? Mr.
Second.
Brown, thank you so much. Sure.
Mr. Brown, beach out, Mr. Stiff.
I know, I was all prepared too. I tell you, he's quick.
That's all right. Consent agenda starts with Beaufort, runs through the miscellaneous item for the town of Cary, including Holly Springs. So that was Wooten and Brown. Mr. Tool.
Aye.
Alder Boley.
Aye.
Ms. Harvey.
Aye.
You, Councilman Huffman.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson. Aye. Mr. Stiff.
Yes.
You and Treasurer Briner.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. I know we have several towns online who are on the consent agenda, but no questions for y'all, but thanks for logging on and being here in case there were questions. We always appreciate that. Last item under attachment D would be the consent agenda non-action items. Again, we just want, these are 2 items that we will brief you on, not asking you to do anything about it. You have a quick summary of those, Jennifer.
One unit is Durham Housing Authority and the other is in Libyan, also known as Charlotte Housing Authority. These 2 transactions were already approved by the commission. They are changing the way that they are kind of structured in a securitization. The only thing that is changing of your note is that they are actually moving forward the maturity date and not extending it even further. So that is, we just wanted to make that addition to their file and let you guys know.
All right, thanks so much. Again, no vote needed on that item. Now we will move into attachment E. This is a continuation of the work that the commission did last month, reviewing appeals from units who received a notice of non-compliance for an overdue audit. You'll remember that last month at the commission, we brought you appeals from units that were 1 year behind, and under your guidelines that you had previously adopted, you approved all of those appeals last month. This month, we have several different groups of appeals to go over with you. I'm going to turn it over to primarily to Laura and Cindy to walk us through a little refresher on the process, walk us through the first 2 resolutions, and then the criteria for the units where there was a staff recommendation to deny or to grant. So we'll get to those in a moment, but we have 2 resolutions before that. Laura.
Sure. Good morning, commission members. I'm Laura Rowe, the Director of Policy and Compliance. So there's a lot of information and a lot of materials within Attachment E. And so I think we'll kind of go down the list of items as it's outlined on the cover sheet and kind of how Denise laid it out. So the first item that we're wanting to draw your attention to is an additional resolution of successful appeals. So this is a resolution that kind of mirrors what action we did take in August with units that filed an appeal and they were only missing the 2024 fiscal year audit. When the notice of noncompliance was issued back in April, they were actually missing 2 years, and these units have made progress in getting the 2023 audit in. They filed an appeal, and under our guidelines, they qualified for a successful appeal. And so they kind of came in at the tail end as we were preparing for the last meeting. And so rather than scramble to get them within the resolution and on the agenda, we grouped these units together to take action today. We provided the appeal letters for your information to review. There's not a lot of discussion that really goes into these successful appeals because they meet that single criteria. But we're happy to answer any questions that you might have on the actions being taken on these first 3 units.
Thanks, Laura. So these are East Arcadia, Micro, and Newport. And I do want to emphasize something that Laura just said. I can imagine us or the commission getting questions from other units that were 2 years behind if they get an audit submitted in a month or in 2 months. Why did these folks get an extension? And basically, it's as Laura said, it's just the timing of this process. If these audits had come in after today, then these folks would not be in the 1 year category. But this is the last meeting at which you are taking this action. And at this point, these 3 units are now in the group of missing. We try to not say just missing 1 audit, obviously, rather than be missing no audits, but happy to have seen an audit submitted from each of these 3 towns in the past few weeks. And that's why we're presenting you these, what we call these paragraph 1 appeals, which under your guidelines you have committed to approving. Any questions on these units? Treasurer Briner.
It's not a question, it's more of an editorial comment. I'm happy to approve these 3 and thank you for getting these audits in. But if we find ourselves back here next year where you've missed the deadlines over and over again and you expect us to approve another extension next year, I will vote no next year for these specific units. The deadline is December 31st, folks. We are in September, so we are 9 months after the deadline. We're talking about a year after that. So I think we are being more than reasonable, but let's not test our patience next year, please. Thank you.
I move adoption of the resolution, subject to the comments of treasurer.
Second.
All right, we'll have Cindy call on this resolution.
So this is for the resolution, the first one in the packet entitled Successful Appeals Pursuant to Paragraph 1. And it's for East Arcadia, Micro, and Newport. Yes, granted. Sewell Briner, motion second. So we'll start with Auditor Bullock.
Aye.
Secretary Wooten.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Ms. Harvey.
Aye.
Councilman Hoffman.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson. Aye. Mr. Stiff.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that is motion carries.
Thanks so much. I do feel like maybe I should speak up a little bit about these towns and say these towns did not request to be moved into the 1-year category. They submitted an appeal as being 2 years missing, and this was a staff decision to slip them in the 1 year. But noted there's enough to go through without bringing several resolutions next time. So thanks for the vote on that one. Now we'll move into Black Creek. Laura.
Yeah, so the second resolution in the packet for attachment E is a resolution on the town of Black Creek. So Black Creek is a unit that when the notice of noncompliance was issued in April, they were missing five fiscal years. And they're getting their own resolution, so to speak, because they communicated to our office that they were choosing not to appeal that notice of noncompliance. And so what this resolution does is really just confirm what the secretary's action will be, which is to take action to withhold a portion of Black Creek sales tax distributions. Under the statute, because Black Creek does not have the fiscal year 2024 audit in as of June 30th of 2025, they're deemed to have consented to that withholding occurring. And so this, and because they didn't appeal, there's nothing for the commission to consider before taking this action. But I do want to note, and I do want to propose a possible update to the proposed resolution. So since the notice of noncompliance, when they were missing 5 years, they've since submitted 2 fiscal year audits. And so in the 5th paragraph down, I would look to update that statement where it says that they have now submitted 20 and 21. And so they've made progress in that regard. They're now missing 3 fiscal years. That, however, doesn't change what action will be taken today. We'll just update it to reflect that they are slowly but surely making a little bit of progress there.
That's great. And again, really happy to see that for the town of Black Creek. 2 audits in just over 3 months is certainly gaining ground. So keep up the good work, Black Creek. Any discussion on this item or questions about the resolution? Otherwise, looking for a motion to approve as amended.
Yeah, move that resolution.
Councilwoman Hoffman moved to approve. Second, Councilman Brown. Sorry,
Question.
nope.
Question.
Yes.
So this is the one that, because the Secretary of Revenue is the holder, has to withhold the tax. This would be the one that I would abstain on, since I have a statutory duty to withhold.
Your predecessor chose to abstain from this, and you certainly can if you think that there is a conflict. Yep.
I will.
All right.
Noted.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're ready.
Ready for the roll.
So this is the second one in the packet to withhold a portion of sales tax distribution on the town of Black Creek with paragraph 5 amended to remove the year 2021.
Yes.
So it will be without that. Hoffman, Brown, Secretary Wooten will abstain. Mr. Toole.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
You. Oh, sorry. Ms. Harvey.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Johnson. Aye. You, Mr. Step.
All right.
Treasurer Briner.
Aye.
Very much. So that is, motion carries.
All right, thank you so much, Cindy. That was the short and easy part of attachment 3, and now we're getting into all the materials that we sent you that made some of the emails bounce back for being too large to send. So at this point, Laura will walk you through the process of the consideration of, we call these appeals based on other good cause, meaning it's not under your guidelines as being 1 year missing. These are units that are 2, 3, or 4 years missing. Laura.
Initially, the materials that we provided the LGC members to review as part of this process were the 2024 and 2025 appeal letters that the units submitted. Not every unit submitted a 2024 appeal letter, so that if that didn't happen, we of course didn't have that to provide. But all of the units, all of the 25 units in this list that we're looking at of other good cause appeals received a notice of noncompliance last year. And they're all missing at least 2+ years of audits. The other piece of information that staff provided you was a spreadsheet that lists the 2025 or the 25 units, and then includes what staff's recommendation is with respect to taking action on whether or not to grant the appeal or to deny the appeal, with a brief summary as to staff's reasoning and thought process for making that recommendation. So those are the key kind of pieces of information that you as LGC members received. The packet of appeal letters, I believe, was provided in August 18th, and so there was a lot of material to look at well before this meeting. In undertaking this process and in looking at all of the information that the units provided in their appeal, it was a lot different from what we engaged in last year. And as part of your attachment E packet, I included a 2025 updated overview. So this is a piece of information that we talked about at the last meeting that provided some data and statistics about this year's notice of noncompliance process. But I would direct your attention to page 3 under section B that kind of outlines what staff did and what we looked at as we were engaging in the analysis of these appeals. And what that included was, of course, reviewing the 2025 appeal letter. We did encourage all units to file an appeal for something for us to look at. It also included the 2024 so that we had a little bit of context to compare what the units were telling us last year, and then here we are a year later. In addition, staff meeting, primarily myself, and then when Denise was brought on, she was able to partake in these meetings. We met with all of the coach staff that were assigned to each of these units. So every unit on the spreadsheet of the 25 units is also on the unit assistance list, except for Kelford. And so every unit would have had a coach team member assigned and would have had the ability to work with that coach team member. And so staff met with that member. We reviewed the appeal letters to kind of get information and an idea about what the situation was on the ground with respect to these units and what the appeal letters were telling us. And so that is a different process that we engaged in this year versus what happened last year. In that same summary sheet, I'll direct your attention to Exhibit 5. It's actually the last page in that sheet. But this lays out the guidance criteria that staff drafted as a result of a directive from the revised guidelines that were passed by the LGC in November of 2024. And so after going through the process last year, where action was taken to grant most of the appeals that were filed in 2024, staff were tasked with developing guidance criteria that would assist the units and assist the LGC members in providing us with information that we could look at to make a determination of whether or not there was evidence and good cause to say, well, this is what they're telling us the unit experienced. It probably explains or would explain why their audit hasn't been submitted yet. And so we would have something to kind of gauge the units against. And so Exhibit 5 is what staff developed. It was posted on the website, and units were directed to look at that information. And what we wanted to do was to have the units consider, looking back in the last 12 months, what has your unit experienced that might explain why you're still missing 2+ years of audit reports. And so the criteria that was developed is new this year. It wasn't a tool that was used and applied last year, but that was the measure that we tried to use to take these units that are in a lot of different circumstances. No one unit is similarly situated, but we would be able to take what the units tell us and try to put it to this little bit of a standard measure to say, how can we use what the units are telling us and then take action that is consistent and, and fair across the board. And so the guidance criteria is really what we use as our tool this year in making these recommendations. What I will say in going through this process, the ultimate goal was to ensure that fairness and consistency happen for each unit. We didn't want to come across as arbitrary and capricious, and we wanted to put the units on a level that we could measure them again against a bit of a standard to try to put all these different situations into sort of a manageable review. Of course, the other goal was to ensure that the intent purpose of the statute and the statutory provisions about withholding as a result of late audits, we wanted to effectuate that intent and that purpose. And so those were sort of the twin prongs that we're trying to accomplish here.
Thanks, Laura. I believe Cindy's going to provide some legal guidance as well, and then we'll get into the review.
Yes. All right. So this process is an agency decision. And as Laura mentioned, we have standards so that there's a level of comparison that's equal. So to distill down what your task is today, ask yourself a question. Has the unit provided me with evidence that the failure to submit the latest audit is due to or caused by or related to an event or circumstance in the list of the guidance criteria during the relevant time period, April 24 to April 25. Again, you're going to ask yourself, do I see relevant evidence that a reasonable mind would say, yes, this is, I conclude that what they have told me matches a guideline criterion, singular, at least one. And that would be, the statute says, if they have established that their failure to submit an audit is due to something in guidelines that you've established, then a granting of an appeal is warranted. Clear as mud.
Any questions on that explanation from Cindy before we dive in? Okay. So, members, the document that we'll be working through, and I see most of you have it out, is the one with the green and the red with the staff recommendations. And as Laura mentioned, all of these units except one have a member of the coach team assigned to them. But I want to make it clear to the units that these were ultimately Laura's and my call, or ultimately my call. So I am aware that a recommendation to deny could make things challenging for some units working with their coach team member. And that's why I want to say very clearly that I made these decisions with Laura, and they were not decisions of the individual coach team members. I just wanted to make sure that that is clear. And then to tell you generally the recommendations, by and large, the approach was that we recommended that you grant the appeal for units that are 2 years behind if they met one of the criteria that Laura just reviewed. And the appeal letter made it clear that one of the criteria applied. By and large, the recommendation was to grant. And if none of the criteria applied, and there were no other recent events that applied, then the recommendation was to appeal. That's on the 2-year units. And then on the 3-year units, across the board, the recommendation to you is that you deny those appeals. And the one exception on that would have been a unit that experienced a recent exceptional or extraordinary event that might explain them being 3 years behind. And so an example of that would have been if this were one of the Hurricane Helene units that was 3 years behind. I think we would be having a different discussion on a 3-year unit. None of the 3-year units fall in that category. And so what you saw in the packet was a recommendation to deny all of the 3. You have the recommendations in front of you, and you've have them in advance. If the commission is good with the recommendations to grant, then what I would suggest is that you let Laura and I walk you through each recommendation to deny. I think if you are going to consider denying the appeal and withholding the sales tax, then we should discuss each of those units individually. Is that hearing okay from the body to do it that way? Seeing some nodding. All right, thanks. So it's a great question. So there are two resolutions in your packet. There's a resolution to grant and a resolution to deny. And as we go through these, if you choose to move any of the denies to grant, for instance, then we will vote on that resolution as amended. And we will update the resolution with the list of all of the units. So it will be two different votes at the end of the day. Hopefully not the end of the day. Hopefully sooner than the end of the day, after we get through the packet. Almost every unit on this list is either in person or attending virtually. We did make it clear to the units that there's no advantage to attending in person versus virtually. This is a very large state and you don't need to drive 6 hours when you can log on. So, but certainly appreciate everyone that came in person and everyone that is online. If you have questions about any one of the units, we can unmute a member from that unit to answer your question, but we were not anticipating having an open floor for each unit to address you, but they are available to answer. So working through your handout, I'm going to start with number 3, which is Autryville. This is a unit that's 2 years behind and the recommendation is to deny. And in each case, Laura will give you the basic explanation the short explanation as to why this was a deny recommendation.
Sure. So for the town of Autryville, they are missing 2 years. But in reviewing their appeal letter for 2025, they didn't seem to identify any recent issues that would have occurred in the time period that we're looking at that would have explained why now they're 2 years behind. And I did want to note that the criteria that we put together, a lot of it came from reasons that are included in the amended audit contract. So when a unit is not able to get their audit in by their due date, or if they have to change the fee or something like that with respect to the audit contract, we have the units complete an amended contract, and in doing that, the units will indicate the reasons why. And so a lot of these criteria came from that list because those are situations that we see as being common issues that a unit will experience that can create delay. And so it was these criteria were pulled from that, but then they also built in situations that staff have observed as potential reasons. And then of course there was a catch-all that if there was some incident or issue that wasn't specifically listed, we certainly asked a unit, well, please describe what's happening here. So to go back to Autryville, they did describe some issues with a software conversion that looked to be started a couple years ago, and they might have been continuing to work on that. If you see in their appeal letters, there wasn't a lot of detail as to what those issues were. But again, in looking at the timing of the occurrence, it was outside of where we were looking at it. So there came the recommendation to deny that.
Thanks, Laura. We won't vote on these separately, but we'll discuss them each separately. What questions or comments do you have about the town of Autryville, either members online or in the room? Right? Yes. Senator Bullock.
Where are you on your progress? Where are you in the process? And where's the town in their process of getting caught up?
Sure. Do you want to let the town address that, or do you want to answer?
Yes, I think that the town would be able to provide.
Sure. We have Lisa Jones, the town clerk and finance officer from Autryville on the line. Lisa, can you hear us? Can we hear you? She's self-muted. We've unmuted her, so she wants to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, there you go. Thanks for being on the line, Lisa.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Sure. Did you hear Auditor Bullock's question?
Yes, so it's true that the software conversion happened 2 years ago, that we've been struggling with the audit. But within the last 6 months, we hired a separate accountant to help us with the issues. And so we've been doing the audit, the 2 audits that we are behind on, and our auditor has now said she anticipates presenting the 2 audits to our board at our board meeting on Tuesday, which would hopefully get us caught back up.
Maybe an administrative question.
Sure,
If in fact they submit 2 audits,
which would be wonderful.
which would be amazing. Do we need to vote to release the withholding thereafter?
So that's no right. So under statute, the withholding stops and the money is returned after 2 years or when the audit is submitted. So in this case, there wouldn't even be a chance to withhold money, much less return it, but you don't need to make a vote whenever that happens. Really, I should let the attorney answer that. But I'm getting some nods.
That's correct, yes.
Thanks. Lisa, thank you so much. That progress sounds promising. Auditor Bullock, do you want to follow up on that? Other questions? Just a moment. Okay. All right, moving. Just a moment, please. Hold on just a moment, please. All right, thanks. Let's move on to the town of Candor. Recommendation to deny. This was one of the towns that is 3 years behind. And as I mentioned, it was across the board. We ended up recommending that you deny all the 3-year units. Laura, anything you would like to add on Candor?
No, I would note that we didn't, at the outset, we did not state within the criteria that if you're three or more years behind, that you'll be denied unless you demonstrated to us an exceptional event. That evolved as we were looking at what units were telling us. And that seemed like a good way to further our goal of treating units in a consistent and fair manner. That at 3 years, it seems like we need to see something major have happened because you are that far behind. And so I just would want to acknowledge that units hearing this might be surprised that they didn't know that that was going to be how it landed, but that is how our decisions were formed as we, at that point, had read every appeal letter that we received.
Thank you. Questions from the members about the town of Candor and the recommendation to deny the appeal?
Well, I guess I have the same question.
Okay.
Where are they?
All right. Putting everybody on notice that's the question. Let's see who we have from the town of Candor.
You have the finance officer, town clerk.
Thank you so much. They are both remote. So Tammy Kellis and Mayor Hearn. Can you hear us? And
yes, can you hear us?
Yes, great. Thanks so much. Thank you for being on. Can you address the question of your progress on catching up?
Yeah. This Auditor
Can
Bullock,
you
I have a
repeat the
question.
question? You're just wanting to know what's changed? Is that correct?
Where are you in the process of getting caught up?
Okay, our 2022 audit is with the auditor. Our last conversation with them was they would have that finished in September. The last update I asked for, I didn't get a different answer. So September is when they were supposed to have that done, which is this month. I do have information for 23, 24 ready go to them as soon as are finished with it, and they know that I have that ready. So, as soon as they get done, they're ready to start on the 23 and 24, and then the 25, of course. But that's where we are. We've just been trying to hound them to get caught up on ours because we have the information ready.
Thank you. Any other questions from the members about this unit? All right, thank you. Let's move on to the town of Chocowinity. This is a 2-year unit. Mara.
Yes, for the town of Chocowinity, they actually just recently improved to now missing 2 years. They filed their 2022 audit on August 27th, 2025. You'll see in their appeal letter, both for this year and last year, that they described that they experienced episodes of embezzlement and fraud by the former finance officer that has actually resulted in charges being filed against that individual. Though we appreciate what the town of Chocowinity might have gone through with doing that, we again did not see any new issue or event that would still explain why the audit has not been submitted. And so we do commend Chocowinity in improving their status to now missing 2 years. That did not change staff's recommendation on the appeal.
Thanks so much. We have a.
I have a question, like to know where you are. I know that former
Yeah,
auditor
sure.
represents them.
Right. For Auditor Wood in person, and then we have several members of the town online and available.
Beth Wood, I'm partner with GWI Tax and Accounting, and
Jeff Haddock, I'm a commissioner with the town.
so the outstanding event. Yes, there was an embezzlement, and that was critical. The SBI had to come in, and there was the embezzlement was multiple years, and there was a lot of work on trying to bring up the evidence to file charges. The bigger event was the substandard audits that were performed in prior years. So when we started in October to bring their audits, their books up to speed, up to date, and to get them ready for the 22 audit, we found a number of items that had not been corrected, had been misreported in prior years. This involved the town's operations themselves, and it involved 2 fire departments, the EMS, and a fire department donation fund. We had to go back to 2016 to unravel all the transfers between all of these, because again, we have embezzlement, and on the financial statements, on the bank statements, there are checks that have cleared in the check clearing section of the bank statement with no check number and no canceled check. So we had to validate through the banks, was this an embezzlement or was it a valid expenditure for the town? Also, we found in trying to put everything together for audit, there were CDs with the town on their books, there were CDs with the fire departments, and there was no bank statements to support any of them. We contacted the prior auditor, and basically he told us for the fiduciary funds, because they're fiduciary funds, we did no work on cash. Got that in an email. And then just had no support for the CD that he reported as cash in the financial statements for 21. So again, prior to auditors, we did 9 prior year adjustments, lengthy adjustments on all funds that were fiduciary and some within the operational accounts. And again, I can't stress to you, I got involved with this unit in October of 24, and we have just now gotten the audit submitted and accepted. They have an auditor that knows what they're doing. They're one of the best in the state when it comes to auditing governments. I would tell you that the 2022 numbers are solid, and we believe it is our intent. GWI has actually gone through 23, 24, and 25. We've looked at the bank statements and the general ledger. We've identified what's on the bank statement that's not been posted to the general ledger and vice versa. And Martin Starnes has committed that when they are done with their regular audit season, they will start in January of 26. And we plan to have 23 and 24 at the very least delivered by June of 2026. And I am optimistic that because we have solid numbers for the end of 2022, that the other 3 audits are possible to be done by June of 2026. Now, the appeal to you, this commission, is this. Think about 3 audits in 1 fiscal year. That's expensive. If you withhold their sales tax monies that could go towards this audit, I mean, that's what you're withholding for, is making sure, you know, they get their audits done. So the appeal to you is waive the holding of their sales tax monies so that they can pay for at the very least 2 audits, if not 3, of the next fiscal year. I'm glad to answer any questions you might have.
How's the software? Town software? Is it up to speed?
It's not the best, but our staff is working through pivot tables and VLOOKUP to help automate and get this bank reconciliation particularly faster. I would not say that the software is a hiccup for them.
But you're confident with having 22 being solid, 23, 24, and 25? A lot.
Much faster, because I can promise you, this was not our work over the last almost year, has not been pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. The town staff, GWI staff, and the audit staff, we have been at this nonstop, and every rock we turned over pulled up 3 more issues that had to be investigated. And again, all the way back to 2016, we had to unravel numbers and make them work so that we could get solid numbers for 2022. So yes, we are so intimately knowledgeable with their books. We'll move much faster, absolutely much faster. And of course, everybody that is been involved in this process getting us through to 2022 will be involved in 23, 24, and 25. And so again, just that working knowledge will make it go faster also. They're not a large unit, but the entanglement going back so many years, again, the embezzlement was a big deal. The audit work and the audits and the financial statements that were written by the auditor, audited by the auditor, and again, over 100 adjusting journal entries and something like 36 prior year adjusting journal entries.
If I may, so I've been on the board 1.5 years, and so we have some new board members. So we're seeing the internal problems, and so we're definitely committed to slowing the ship down and then turning the ship, getting in the right direction. So we appeal to you to assist us in as we're trying to correct the situation.
And again, they've gone from a $7,500 audit, which is what got what they paid for. I told them that, to now something in the range of 40,000. So again, thinking about 3 of those in 1 budget year, that's going to be expensive to them.
I have an administrative question.
All right, Mr. Toll.
So my administrative question is, I see in our little chart an estimate of maximum withholding of 11,250, which is quite different than the 40,000 times 1.5.
I wonder.
I want to call you auditor.
No, I wonder which number they're going to use.
But what I see presented to us is 1150, not 60. And I want to be sure I understand what we're talking about here.
No, thank you for the question. So that would be corrected because the 11,250 was based on the 2021 audit contract, because that was the last audit that we had in when I was putting these numbers together. And so the the contract, the numbers that would be used would be for that, for the contract for the last audit that we have in.
Which number, I get confused on the last audit.
Oh, the audit contract for the fiscal year 2022 audit. The cost of doing that audit would be what is used to calculate the 150% cumulative withholding.
So the numbers in this chart cannot be relied upon.
That number is incorrect. It did not get updated when they got their 2022 in.
Which was last week.
What a great question. Thank you. And may I ask a question? Well, I'm just hearing 2 audits being submitted at one time, multiple times today. And our auditor is telling us that you can't start one until the prior one is finished. So I'm wondering how that's being done, because I'm begging our auditor to sign up for all the next 3. But they're saying I can only sign 1 audit contract at the time, and any work that gets done on a year after, and there's not a sign, and this was not finished, they're under no obligation to pay if they've started an audit. So I'm just wondering about these that are submitting 2 audits at one time.
Kendra, do you want to speak to the audit contracting requirements?
Sure. Ms. Wood is still struggling, Auditor Wood versus.
You're fine.
Ms. Wood
Beth is
is
just fine.
correct about the process. It is that they have to complete 1 audit before the next audit year's contract will be approved. They have to submit the audit to us.
And not be approved? It does not have to be approved by you?
It has to be accepted by.
That's right. So accepted by the LGC
accepted by us.
before, and then.
And a final invoice sent in on the prior year's audit before the next year's audit contract will be approved by our office. And if a auditor chooses to begin work on the next year, then they are taking a risk that contract has not been approved. The unit is operating under no obligation to pay because that contract has not been approved. And that's all laid out in statute that it has to be done that way.
But again, I appeal to the commission, given the new number, you can see what 3 audits might cost them in this fiscal year, and withholding that amount of sales tax refund money can be used towards those 3 audits.
How much sales tax does the town of Chakawinty collect?
300, this year's budget is 311,000, I believe.
And presumably, the prior year's audit costs you reserved against the prior year's budgets.
I'm sorry?
Presumably, the prior year's audit costs have been reserved against the prior year's budgets and are somewhere ready to be used to pay for these.
But that was only 7,500.
This is Thomas. I had 2 questions. So can we get clarity on what the updated number would be? It's a little difficult to hear, but it seems like it would have been updated because of an activity in the last week. And then 2 is more of a thought question. I understand the rationale on if we withhold this, makes it difficult for the unit to on the go forward, but I guess my question would be, what kind of precedent does that set? Because I imagine all the units other than I would have that same comment. I don't know their budgets, but is there precedence for the LGC to use that as a criteria? Is second part of my 2-parter. My first part is clarity on what the actual number is, and then has that been a determinant in pass, deny, or grant on withholding the sales tax?
I'd like to jump. Thank you for the question, and I think I'll turn that over to Cindy. But first, I do want to make a comment about the cost of the audit and not being updated on the chart. Members, as you know, you received these materials last Wednesday, and things have continued to happen since then. This is an everyday evolving process with our staff. We have gotten you the most recent current information we have. Things have continued to change. I believe we even received an audit yesterday, and audit contracts will continue to be approved. So all that to say is we have gotten you the most recent information we can, and I encourage any unit that speaks today, if you have an audit contract that was approved in the last 5 days since we put the documents together. But feel free to share that, although we also try to have that in our notes as well. Cindy, can you speak to the legal part of the question?
Yes, this is Cindy Aiken. I'll speak to the question of what audit contract amount are we supposed to use? Statute says, but let's back up. The statute is asking us, is the audit that was currently due, which is fiscal year 24, has that been submitted yet? Yes or no? If it has not, and we're in this stage, we look to see, okay, what is the contract amount for the current year for their 24? If they don't have a contract that's been approved for their fiscal 24 audit, which is the case for all of these, the statute says go back to the contract, audit contract, the actual fee for the most recently filed audit report. So whatever, at the time that this spreadsheet was prepared, whatever the most recent received fiscal year audit, what was the contract amount for that year? And that's the amount that would be the starting point for calculation. If that makes sense. So so if the last audit received from a unit was for 23, and they don't have a contract signed yet for 24, we go back to the 23, and so on.
All right, so I need clarity just so I understand. So understanding the law, now I want the fact. The contract, the value of the contract that will be used to calculate the withheld, if we choose to go that way, is what?
For this particular unit.
And for this particular unit.
So what's the last one received?
So the value of the contract to complete the fiscal year 2022 was not to exceed $125,000. And we want to see invoices on what was actually paid by the unit for this contract, and it's 150% of $125,000.
Or actually paid, or $125,000, which is a not to exceed, but not actually.
Yeah, so the contract is written as an amount not to exceed, and so I would want to make sure that.
So it's on an hourly basis.
Did the unit actually pay $125,000? And then it's 150% of that would be the cap on what could be withheld total.
You said it was 40.
That's the last number I've heard. I can't, please don't, but it's somewhere in that.
In that range.
Yes. And I guess I would even step out to say, hold our feet to the fire. If, give us this appeal on the condition that we deliver at least 2 audits by 2026.
So
that would stop the precedence of everybody jumping on this bandwagon.
Can I ask a few more?
Sure.
Yeah, just to leave you while you think.
Well, I was gonna bring this to a merciful conclusion.
I just want to ask one legal question. Do we have any ability under the statute, Cindy, to waive fees or to reduce the amount, or do we have no discretion whatsoever?
This is Cindy Aiken. To be honest with you, two different lawyers might say the same. We talked about that. This breakdown of the 150%. We talked about that because we think alike. The total cumulative amount that may be withheld is an amount equal to 150%. I just read what the statute says.
So that's discretion.
So, well,
I'm going to use May as a discretion.
We were going to say no.
Because don't you get into the same thing of everybody trying to get it down? I mean, again, we'll deliver. Just give us the waiver and we will deliver by June 2026 or hold our feet to the fire next year.
Other questions specific to Chuckalinity or other discussions specific to Chuckalinity? It sounds like there might be a desire to talk generally about the statutory authority. That conversation may be best had either now or after we've heard all the units, but to figure out where we are in this specific unit. Questions for the staff?
And Cindy again, and remember, it's not all withheld at one time. It's getting it right, 5%.
112.
Of one. So
Of
one
their
month's, one
budget.
month's expenditures and 5% of that. That's right, each month.
Can afford it.
All right, we're good?
Should I address it specifically now or later?
Sure.
Okay. I guess I have a lot of sympathy for unraveling a fraud and trying to figure out everything that's happened historically. So first of all, thank you for getting to the bottom of that, figuring out what has happened in this town. I understand that is extremely time consuming. And I appreciate that you've gotten to the point of the audit being done here at the end of August. I am prepared, speaking for myself, to take you up on your offer, but not 2 audits, 3 by the end of 2026. Get you current and not on any of our lists by the time we're having this meeting next year. I understand.
So you want 23?
He wants all 3
24 and
audits by
25.
next year instead of 2.
She had indicated 2 audits, okay.
For every unit?
Just to get it done.
We all would.
For someone who's unraveling a fraud, which is a unique circumstance, and it is a time-consuming circumstance, but also someone who is capable of getting completely current. One behind is not on time. On time is on time. So let's go all the way there.
I might weigh in as well. Sure. I think part of the thing that I struggle with is just the cost of unraveling a fraud is a lot more than doing an audit. Because it explains basically the difference between 7,500 and 40,000 bucks. And so that to me has to be, it's not something we built into the guidelines because we weren't really thinking about it. But it has to be one of those other criteria that we have to consider as we come up with a resolution that's fair. And yet also keeps you guys focused, which is the goal.
If I may speak to that.
Also, I know a little bit about this situation. The amount of fraud was not a small dollar either.
Yeah.
600.
It was
600,000.
It was
600,000.
Yeah, it was a tremendous amount of the percentage of their annual budget. So, I mean, there's a difference between fraud is fraud, but my position anyway. But there is a difference between unraveling a $5,000 fraud and a $600,000+ fraud.
If I may speak to your point, so there's the audit contract, but we have through this process of lengthy period, currently we're over $283,000 toward this process.
Yeah, I understand. And you're kind of a victim of having been moving along and then you submitted the contract at the wrong time. If you'd waited a week, you'd have been better off. But I'm not suggesting you do that.
That's not helpful.
I did a comment or a clarification to make for the commissioners. I want to make sure that this body is clear that the unit's audit firm is not here. The unit's audit firm is Martin Starnes. It's not, just to be clear, that they have an outside bookkeeper, as I understand it, GWI. And then what we're talking about is a promise on behalf of another.
And she is on the line if you need to talk to her. Erica Brown.
What?
I would just have to say it is our intent to get all 3 done. But Martin Starnes cannot start until January because they are a government audit firm and they're handling current clients during this audit season. And so the books, again, have been caught up, things have been identified, and they are committed. And again, Erica can speak to that, to at least 2. You heard other units say our auditor can't get around to our audit. Martin Starnes has committed to at least 2, and we're all optimistic that if they can, 3. So I would ask for you to require us to have the 2 done, and we get extra 10% if we get that 3rd one done. Just kidding. But I appreciate where you are. And I remember the day I sat on that side of the table and I was tough. But again, they have put the money and the resources into catching themselves up. And the other piece I would have to point out is that their books were audited by 2 CPAs on the list of acceptable CPAs by the local government commission, which everybody trusts. And the embezzlement plus cleaning up those books from 2016 has been all the time consuming. So it's really 2 issues. It is the embezzlement and untangling all that, but it's also cleaning up the books of 2 prior auditors.
I'd like to propose that we defer further discussion on this particular matter until we hear the rest of the items.
Thank y'all very much. It's great to be in front of you.
Thank you.
All right, commission members, let's move to the town of Columbus. The town of Columbus shows on your sheet as being 3 years behind. That's because yesterday the town filed the 2022 audit and we did not update your handouts. So just so you know that that's where the town of Columbus is. Having said that, internally, we have discussed the recommendation and still recommend that you deny this appeal. I'll let Laura give more information.
Yes, so, yeah, it's great that the town of Columbus was able to get their 22 audited, so they did improve their position. In looking at their 2025 appeal letter, they did not explain, again, any recent incident or event that would explain why they, at the time, were 3 years behind in audits. Because they did improve from being 3 years to 2 years, staff's quasi-automatic denial was changed, and so we did reassess what their appeal letter said, but we did not see information in their appeal letter that would change that recommendation. And then I would note then, again, this is another instance where the contract amount would change because we now have a different contract to consider because we have a new audit.
What would that be?
I had to pull that up.
It's relevant.
There are 3 staff members from the Foothills Regional Commission, which is the COG for this unit, on the line, if you wish to address any questions to them. Just while Laura looks that up, other questions or discussion? Auditor Rowland.
Like to know where they are in the process.
Sure. Dana, sorry, Ms. Stansberry, Ms. Sullivan, Ms. Shear, can you hear us?
Yes. Are you able to hear us okay?
Yes, we are. Thank you for being on the line.
Yes, thank you for having us. So I'm Dana Stansberry, I'm Executive Director for Foothills Regional Commission, which is the council of government that Columbus is located in our footprint. And I'm with Julie Shearer, who is also a commission employee and is working with the town as their interim finance officer. And I also have Councilwoman Becky Kennedy and Mayor Pat McCool with us today. Just wanted to let you know that we took over helping the council with town management and town finance issues in May. And since then, some things have certainly gotten accomplished. In the middle of trying to still clean up from Hurricane Helene, we are in Western North Carolina. Foothills and the town is aware of the LGC deadlines, and we've been working to get the town of Columbus back on track. And I'm going to let Julie, who is working as our finance officer, talk to you about where we are in that process.
Hi, this is Julie Shearer, and just wanted to kind of talk about some things that have happened with Columbus since this time last year. While the town was not affected significantly compared to other communities in Western North Carolina, it was affected. The town had some flooding and debris cleanup. Power was off here for about a week for everyone. We were planning on, and when I say we, I was actually working with the North Carolina League of Municipalities Municipal Accounting Services Group previously, and I retired back in the spring. I was working with the town on trying to get them caught up so that we could get them converted. this time last year. And then the storm happened in September, and it did take some staff time and things did slow down here during that cleanup process. We were originally planning on the auditors coming in at the end of November or December to do field work for the 21-22 audit. Because things slowed down, they were not able to come until January. Our auditors also do taxes. So they came in and did the majority of the field work in January, but did not complete everything. In May, the town manager and who also served as the finance officer, as well as one of the other 3 employees at Town Hall, separated from employment with the town. That happened in May, which was about the time that the auditors were able to start their field work back up. Because of the staff turnover at that time and the demands of all of the auditors across the state right now, as far as local governments go, it took longer to get the 21-22 audit done than we had hoped. We worked diligently over the past 2 or 3 weeks with auditors to get that accomplished, and we are talking with them as recently as today about when to do the 22-23 work, which will probably be in November. Again, they do taxes, so our hope is that we get the 22-23 audit and the 23-24 audit completed by this time next year, just because of the limitations of the auditor. We are working on hiring a full-time finance officer. I am only working part-time because I am a retiree, but we have gotten a lot done in the past 2 or 3 months. We're working on not only their finances, but trying to make the software that they switched over to 2 or 3 years ago more efficient. There are things that the software can do that I've just found out in the past month or 2. So we're not only working on trying to help them get caught up, we're trying to help them make their current operations more efficient, just to help the town in general. So we are making a lot of progress. We are aware of the statutes and the decision that you all have before you, but the commission and now me working with the town specifically part-time and them looking for a full-time finance officer, not a town manager finance officer together, but having 2 separate positions. We are trying to position the town to get back to a position where they can again win an Excellence in Financial Reporting Award, which they had been doing for years before the software change happened and the staff turnover happened. So that is where we are. We're putting as many resources as we can forward to help the town get caught up and get in a better place.
Questions, comments, discussion? I believe Kendra has something to add.
Just want to make the comment that the fiscal year 2022 audit report that we have received on the 8th of September, it is just the audit report that has been submitted to us. In addition to the audit report, the auditor or the unit is required to submit a data input workbook, which is an Excel worksheet that gives us the data that we need in order to do our analysis. And we do not have that data, so we cannot do our analysis on that fiscal year's audited financial statements yet. We have been promised to have that information by September 15th. Thank you.
Anything else about the town of Columbus, or moving on?
Did we have an updated audit contract?
I can update, yeah. So the contract for the fiscal year 2022 was modified to $36,000. So 150% of that would be a $54,000 total. And I would note from staff's perspective that the town didn't describe any occurrences or incidents from Hurricane Helene. It's helpful to hear that information, but in their appeal letters, they did not articulate instances of impacts from Helene that impacted their audit submissions.
And Laura, do you happen to know how much they collect annually in sales tax revenue?
I do not.
I can pull that up for you.
That'd be nice.
I think we budgeted $500,000 was what the budget is.
That helps me. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Looks like y'all are ready to move on from Columbus. Let's move to Elm City. This is a unit that is 2 years behind.
I guess, before Columbus, is there still a consensus on the recommendation to deny, or is that going to be?
Haven't heard any changes either way right now.
So, yeah, so Elm City, they are missing 2 years. And again, they described in their appeal letter that their finance officer had, I guess, just resigned in May of 2025. But we viewed that as being outside the time period that we were looking at that would have provided a reasoning for still being 2 years behind and not getting an audit in. And therefore, staff landed on the recommendation to deny Elm City's appeal.
You know he wants.
Do I need to ask Dave questions? Since we're getting the food, a snack break?
Yeah, these are questions. So for Elm City, we have several folks on the line. A commissioner who's also the finance officer. We have Mayor Moore and Commissioner Wheeler and Commissioner Carr. Yep. Can one of you, thanks for being on the line. Can one of you address Auditor Bullock's question? That he didn't ask, but you know what it is. Okay.
Good afternoon,
Ms. Wimberly?
everyone.
Ma'am, here you are. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to at least speak on behalf of the town of Elm City, town of roughly 1,200 people, and certainly thankful for the rest of our elected officials who are on the line. We have had recent transitions, I would say, with our most recent finance officer leaving the end of May. But every year prior to that, there has been major transitions in our finance department. Our elected officials, our board, our council has interviewed over the last month a potential candidate who will fulfill the role contract-wise in our finance department, who comes with a very impressive resume, as well as 2 interviews in-house. And every job that is potential, and our board does have a 6:30 meeting tonight, and we're hoping to prayerfully go ahead and hire the next finance director, whom every job that he has worked with has been specifically designed to foresee or oversee their whole audit process. So he comes with a plethora of resources, availability, and experience, and we're excited about hiring him, and the board has been quite impressive. He has beat out a few other interviewees, and we're excited about him onboarding with the town of Elm City just when we thought we were 3 years behind, and our finance officer, who was a novice at the time, she helped us through a successful 2023 audit. And then she's pursuing her personal dream, so she's no longer with us. But she's working in a contract capacity along with a novice, now in-house finance officer who, I don't know if Elm City is just like the place to gain experience. That leaves us with another year of with the possibility of losing our sales tax, which we do not need. Our board just this year voted to decrease taxes. We don't need any decrease at all. We are a town with the longest running moratorium. Great transitions. Just when you think you have one that's solid, then life happens and they leave. We do not need to lose. If begging is the word, then I'm here for the begging. But very factually so. There's transitions all the time in Elm City. We don't want to see it. We don't need to lose it. I think we're gaining great traction now to move our town forward. Of course, if this appeal does not touch your hearts, it's understandable. But I think as many of us are on the line and have made way for this hour to beg and plead, don't take it from us. So I don't want to be the only one to speak. There are several others who are on the line, and I will yield to them at this point. We are looking to hire a seasoned finance director once we meet at our meeting tonight. Thank you all for the opportunity.
Other questions for the town? Do you want to hear from anyone else? Anything you want to ask them or points of discussion? All right, thanks very much. Let's move on to the town of Telford. Telford is a town that Laura mentioned to you just a moment ago as being the one unit on the list that does not have a coach team member, and that's because they were not in the past on the UAL, which is how coach team members are assigned. This town is 2 years behind.
Yes, so with Telford being 2 years behind, we reviewed their appeal letter, and again, we evaluated what they were saying and what possible events might have been cited for why they are now 2 years behind, and we did not see or learn of any new or recent event that would explain why they are now 2 years behind with their audit report. So we recommended to deny their appeal.
Thanks. Does anybody have a question? Auditor Bullock?
Just the same question.
Yep.
Where are you? Like, that had to be long drawn out, but just a quick summary of where you
Okay, sure. Several people from the town of Telford on the phone, on the line. Thank you for being on there. The town clerk and finance officer, Marie Garris, Ahmad Bond, the mayor, Commissioner Eaton, and Commissioner Kane. One of you wish to address the question?
Can I address this is Marie Garris?
Yes, thanks for being on. The question
Okay,
is,
as far as
what's your status in getting caught up?
okay, we have already submitted both the 2022-23, the 23-24 to our auditor. The 2022 audit contract was approved by the LGC on August the 29th. They have we've been in contact with them, and they have actually completed that audit and are proceeding on to the 23-24. And with the upcoming 24-25 audit, things are basically ready to give to them. We wanted to get those two audits back in our possession before moving forward of giving that to them, which I feel with confidence that it will be well before the deadline of December. And reasoning before, as far as getting behind, my father was sick for several years, new board, new changes, just a lot of things going on. I wasn't the best version of myself. I do work 1 day a week. But since this time or whatever, beginning back in March of this year, they have implemented additional hours. So I have 12 hours a week now. There's no other staff other than myself in the office. Have I answered your question?
Denise, has
Yes,
the contract, this bill tool, has the contract changed materially from the 7850 that?
I think our staff are looking it up and pull up the new contract that was just approved.
The last contract that was approved is, I believe, the 2022 contract.
That's what I see also.
So any work on the 23 is not under contract.
Okay.
The 2022 contract was for $7,800. Not to exceed.
Thanks, Kendra. All right, is the group ready to move on to Kenley? All right, thank you. Kenley, a 2-year behind.
Yes, so when Kinley actually improved their position, since the notice of noncompliance was issued, when it was issued in April, they were 3 years behind. So they have improved their position by getting the fiscal year 2022 audit in July of this year. When that audit was submitted, we looked at what their appeal letter told us about why they are past due in their audit submissions. And again, we did not see anything recent that would again explain why they are late in getting their audit reports in. They did, information from the unit did explain that they have changed bookkeepers, and so it seems like they might have taken some positive steps and taken some action in order to try to get their audits in to improve their position, and that we might be now seeing evidence of that with the 2022 getting in. But again, we did not see anything that would have changed staff's recommendation from a recommendation to deny that appeal.
Thank you. Yeah, the town.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe I'll change my question a little bit.
Okay.
What is the plan to get up to speed? What's the plan to get current?
Sure. Town of Kinley online, would you like to address Auditor Bullock's question about your plan to get caught up?
I would, and thank you so much for allowing me to speak to the commission. First off, I want to offer the town of Kinley's apologies for everybody even having to be here and listen to our appeal today. To that, we apologize. I also spoke to Representative Strickland, who represents our area, and offer my apologies to him because I know he's listening today as well. Mr. Treasurer, thank you so much for the words that you said at the beginning of this. This is important. This is necessary. It's not to be taken lightly, and your words should not fall on deaf ears. The town of Kinley, as you heard, we have recently changed to bookkeepers. We did that and we terminated the previous contract in February. In April, we issued a new contract with our CPA who's on the line with us. Her name is Beverly Shroud. She also too was on the list for the website. We submitted 22. She's already in the middle of the trial balance for 23. She thinks that she could be done the next 2 to 3 weeks in the trial balance. We'll get that to our auditor, which is S. Preston Douglas. We approved our audit contract last night, so which I have not submitted yet. It is for $22,500. I will submit that at the conclusion of this call today. We anticipate that 23 will go well. 22 went well. Upon the completion of 22, we're right into 24. We think we can have 23 and 24 completed before we get to January, which is going to allow us then, as the treasurer does accurately describes, we'll still be 1 year behind. We hope to immediately get on 25 and do that as well. We talked earlier about the financial positions that the towns have. When we submitted 22, our general fund balance is 57.5%, and our utility, water, and sewer, which is a combined enterprise fund, is over 100, slightly over 100%. The town of Kinley, I believe, is financially sound. Our most recent audit has stated that. There was some turnover a couple of years ago, which doesn't fall within the last year of your review and your guidelines. But the town of Kinley did wind up with all of its administrative staff quitting at once. We actually wound up on Fox News. Feel free to look that up. So we've reconstituted the department. We've changed bookkeepers who we have, and Ms. Stroud is on the line if you have any additional questions for her to answer.
Questions for the town? Any questions?
And we just respectfully request the approval. Again, as it was, I believe Chakawinity had said earlier, I mean, the audit contract's 22.5. With the bookkeeper, we're spending about 40,000. So 40 times 3. We were fortunate enough to get the Ames grant from the League of Municipalities, which offers financial training for our staff and also assistance to help pay for this. But again, I apologize for having to be here today, and I apologize to Representative Strickland.
All right, thanks for being on the line. Let's move to the town of Littleton. Commission members, I believe, Laura can correct me, this is the only unit that is 4 years behind on submitting audits. And this unit has not submitted an audit to the LGC since November 2020. So obviously very concerning. It's recommended denial. Laura?
Again, reviewing the appeal letter, they did go into detail about how they expect to maybe come make progress, more progress after they get that 2021 audit in, but we did not see anything that warranted granting this appeal, and it is concerning that they are 4 years.
I should also note this is one of the units that is currently having sales tax withheld based on last year, the decisions made during this cycle last year. Town of Littleton, I believe you're on the line. Do you want to speak to Auditor Bullock's question about your plan to get yourselves caught up?
I believe they dialed in using a telephone, and I'm getting a prompt that they need to enter a PIN for us to be able to unmute them. So they can check their email. There should have that they registered with.
Sure.
PIN number for them to enter.
Okay, great. Town of Littleton, can you check your email for a PIN number that you need to enter to be unmuted? Why don't we move on and then we'll wrap back around onto Macclesfield if that works, and then we'll come back. If you're able to find the PIN, how will we know? Wait, you have them?
We've sent it for you.
Okay, yep, it has been sent to you. So I think if you're able to get it, if you could let our staff know, we'll wrap back to you and unmute you, but we will keep going on Macclesfield. This is again, this is a town that is 3 years behind. As we've told you, we recommended denying all of the 3-year behind units. This town is in Edgecombe County, and I believe has some folks on the line. Oh. No, because they're a grant. No, they're a grant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. All right, Laura, go ahead.
Yes, and so given Macclesfield's status of being 3 years behind, we're looking for something substantive or exceptional that would explain why they are still 3 years. We didn't see that. They did note in their appeal letters that it seems like they've been working on completing prior audits, and it's taken a long time because they haven't been able to find all of the documentation that they needed, and they had to resolve a matter of questionable transactions. And again, staff aren't discounting those issues that a unit might be running into when they're trying to get caught up on their audits, but we have to balance that with management of the audit by the unit and the unit not getting itself into that situation to begin with. And so we are hopeful that they'll be able to move forward and get the 2022 in, but we did not see anything that would warrant granting their appeal this year.
Macclesfield, then, believe you have some staff on the line, the town administrator and the town clerk finance officer. Can you address your plan to get caught up on this? I believe that you had been previously working with the AIM program and are no longer engaged in that. So if you could address that as well, that would be appreciated. Thanks. Administrator Stanley or Town Clerk Etheridge, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, we can hear you. Thanks.
Awesome.
Great, thank you.
They are asking about the AIM program. We are currently getting set up with the AIM program. They should start next month. We have given our auditor the fiscal year 22, and we're waiting to hear back from them as far as completion. But once we get that completed, we have 23, 24, and 25 ready to roll as soon as they get 22 completed. We did have a major turnover in staff also.
Auditor Bullock, is that satisfactory? Any other commission members with questions about this unit? Looking over to Jennifer and Lindy, are we ready, do you know, to go back to? No, not yet. All right, continuing on to Morgan. Morgan is a unit that is 2 years behind on its audit. Laura?
Yes, so they are 2 years. In looking at their appeal letter, they do describe situations relating to COVID back in 2020, the Anson County cyber attack in 21, and a change in auditor that occurred a few years ago as being reasons for why their audits were still not submitted. Again, in looking at the time period that we were focused on, they did not articulate any new or recent events that would explain why their audits are still not in, and so we are recommending to deny.
Town of Morven Clerk Lemon is on the line. Clerk Lemon, are you unmuted, and can you address the question of your plan to get caught up?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
And thank you for allowing me to speak. I apologize if you hear any background noise because I am a mom first and foremost. So I'm actually on the road trying to get to the school to get my children. So please forgive me for not being in attendance because last year we were. Last year I sat before y'all and I explained to you everyone about the fact that we had a cyber attack in Anson County. And with that, that caused a lot of stuff where they lost all the information and then they had to rebuild and repopulate all the things. And the person that they had was a lady, I think up in age of 90 something years old, I think in the 90s, that was one of the clerks that they had doing all those taxes, because we do not collect our taxes. That gets sent to the town, to the county, and then the county sends it to us. But the thing is, the town of Morven is at the mercy of our CPA and our auditor. Everything they have asked for, we have given them. What we're doing is we're waiting on them to get stuff to you guys. And so we've talked to the auditors, we talked to the CPA, and they're doing everything they can. But what has happened with them is their hands are tied because they're going back to the county asking them for more information on, just to make sure that the taxes that they collected are matching up with the stuff that I'm entering in the system, that the CPA is checking behind me to see that I'm doing, and then they transfer it over to the auditor. So that was what was going on. And so we did have the auditor, we had Cherry Beckett before, and then after they did our 2021-22, they quit on us. And so then we just had to hire PB Mars, and they got the audit in for us. But with that being said, they had to, because they're the new auditors, they had to build a new system. So they didn't know about our financials, so they had to start from scratch to get everything turned in. So this is what's going on. And then I have a letter that, our auditor had sent us saying that they apologized because he was out sick and he had just got back in. And this letter is from August 25th of 2025. And he's saying, I apologize that I was out, but the person that I had set to do your paperwork, because he was so busy, we thought he was doing everything, but apparently he was busy. So that's why your physical 2023 hadn't been done. And then he goes on to say, but fortunately, we are putting another person in place, which is Miss Janet Caldwell, and she's an experienced senior staff, and she has the time available to help us get through the 2023. So we talked with them. My mayor also talked with the CPA and the auditors, and they ensured us that we was going to have our 2023 completed in 3 weeks, and that was 2 weeks ago. So we're hoping that everything will get taken care of and get submitted to you guys. When it comes down to the 2024, 2025 audits and stuff like that, they already have all of our financials there. So only thing I am is, seriously, the thing is, I'm at the mercy of my CPA and my auditors. I have everything there ready. Whenever they're asking me to get stuff, I get it to them. When they say I need this, I'm in there finding it. I'm sending it to them. But once again, I inherited this. I inherited it because I was not the clerk at the first when all this started. I came in 2021 when our original clerk was quit. She resigned, so then I was voluntold to be going to the office to do all that. We are also talking with, I think I've had Miss Tiffany from the LGC come in and do unit reviews and come in and talk to us. She's coming in next week to do a unit checkup as well. We talked about the AIM program because we are one of the towns that we only have 277 customers. And if the money was taken from us, it would hurt us detrimentally. But I also know that you have a responsibility to do what you're supposed to. So I appreciate you for listening, taking the time out to listen, and I just thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on?
Just a quick clarification. She said when she came before us, so she came before, Morven came before the LGC last year for the same thing,
Sounds like they were one of the appeals last year,
for the same thing.
which is true of most of these
Okay.
units. Let me just do a bit of a temperature check with you. We're a little bit more than halfway through these units. I'm wondering if there's any interest on the behalf of the members for a 5-minute break, or do you want to? So some nodding, a break?
Sure.
All right, 5-minute break. We will come back at 4 o'clock. Thanks.
Been here all night, so it might be interesting. Let's go on to Rich Square. If they're on. So what's it on? They're the ones who are waiting for the code.
Did you want to do Littleton?
If they're available, we might as well go back there.
Okay. She's unmuted now. She's like,
Great, so Littleton, over to you.
Yes, sir.
So the standing question is, what's your plan to get caught up?
So I spoke to our auditor yesterday. I'm sorry, my name is Josie Jones. I'm the clerk and finance officer for the town of Littleton. I spoke to our auditor yesterday, and the goal for her is to have the draft of the latest audit, which is 2021, to us next week. We have had to spend a lot of time and a lot of money to even get a clean 2019-2020 audit to get good numbers to even get started. And unfortunately, both our auditor and our bookkeeper do taxes also. So that causes us issues because during tax season, they do not work on any of our information. So the plan going forward, we're ready to roll for the next year. Our bookkeepers are already ready with the information for 21-22 to get started on the reports to send to the auditor once we're finished with the 2021.
Any questions for the?
How did y'all get so far behind? This is Bill Toole.
I will explain what I've been told. So we had an auditor. When it came time to start the 2021 audit, he resigned abruptly. And it took about 6 months for the current finance officer to find an auditor to take us on. Then she was told by the state that we'd had to have a bookkeeper to do the financial reports because she could not audit herself. And it took us about another 3 or 4 months to find somebody to do that part, the bookkeeping part. When they got started in 2021, realized that our numbers were not clean. We did not have a good balance, nothing balanced. Everything was a mess. And it took about a year and a half for them to get good numbers from 1920 to even start the financial audit. So it's just been a snowball.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or discussion on Littleton? All right. No, sorry, yes.
Cindy, just an administrative note, Ms. Harvey had a conflict, so she left the meeting at 4 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. All right. And I do want to call your attention briefly to Princeville, which is a staff recommendation to grant. I'm calling this one out to you because the first materials that we sent to you in mid-August This was a staff recommendation to deny. After an additional audit came in, when we relooked at the criteria, they then qualified for consistency with the other grant. And in case you have brought your old materials with you, then that's what you'll be seeing, as well as a recommendation. That's principal celebrating. The town of Ridge Square is a unit that is 3 years behind. And this staff recommendation to deny, the last audit that they submitted was just about 2 years ago. Laura?
Yes, and so they fall into that category of being 3 years with no exceptional event seeming to have occurred that would explain why that has continued. But it is noted that Rich Square was slated, or maybe that has started now, enrollment in North Carolina League of Municipalities AIM program, which was slated to start in August. And they are making a positive step there to catch up on their finances and report.
All right, let's see, from the town of Ridge Square.
I've got
Oh, I'm so sorry.
just a quick question, just an education question about, we've heard that the AIMS program, the league a couple of times today. I don't know exactly what it is and what an AIMS grant does for a municipality who's trying to.
Sure, Secretary, if it's okay with the group, why don't we let someone from the league that is in the audience give a very quick explanation? Because as you didn't probably note, in some of the recommendations to grant for 2-year units, it certainly carried weight with the staff if a unit was enrolled in AIM or participating in MASS. So Chris, thank you. You can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. Chris Nida with the North Carolina League of Municipalities. And I'll try to be brief. The league was fortunate a few years back to receive a grant from the legislature, from the General Assembly, and from the governor in the budget that was passed to set up programs for financial software and assistance programs. That was the language that was in the legislation. And so we've set up a couple of different programs. You'll hear reference to MASS, Municipal Accounting Services, and AIM, which stands for Accounting, Instruction, and Mentorship. So the MASS program, we will help towns convert their financial software over to kind of a governmental accounting software, set them up with a chart of accounts, and provide them some guidance and assistance in the conversion process and help getting their books caught up. In the process of doing the software conversion, we found that a lot of smaller towns or towns that had software that met their needs were really just more in need of almost more of a workforce development type program. And so that's where accounting, instruction, and mentorship came from. We have experienced local government finance officers that we've hired that we put into the towns, work alongside the members on getting them caught up on their finances, but also teaching them the basics of local government finance, just because with the amount of personnel turnover and finding people to fill these roles, particularly in small towns, we found that there's just a need for kind of the basics of local government accounting and the basics of local government finance. And so we'll have the mentors work with them on the steps they need to take to stay current and keep their accounting up to standards. But also as part of the AIM program, we do have funding available to provide contract bookkeepers and contract accountants to help their books caught up, and we will pay for an audit if they are behind on their audit as well. So that's the very short version of a lot of the good work that our staff is doing in a lot of these, particularly small towns around the state.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Parker.
Very helpful. Thank you, Chris.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Chris. All right, Rich Square is on the line. Are y'all unmuted, and can you address the question of how you're getting caught up?
Yes. Sorry about that. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that. All right, my name is Christine Bass. I am the new finance officer as of April of this year. And the prior finance officer was terminated. What we have occurred is the 40-plus year finance officer retired in February 23. The next finance officer was terminated April 25. We have had a high turnover rate with clerks and also staff. We have a coach team member with the North Carolina Department of Treasury, and that person was having issues getting information from the prior finance officer as to bank reconciliations, quarterly reports, and I have those emails. And when I got here, I was able to go through those emails and see what some of the deficiencies and things were at that point. This is not my first rodeo. I have done this for another town where I brought them off of the LGC, UAL list and the treasurer's list. So that took me about 5 years to get it in another town. I swore I would never do this again, but here I am. In this instance, we have supplied information to several agencies in the process of trying to get this 22 audit. Our 22 audit should be submitted the 30th of September. Board just approved a new audit contract, amended contract to extend the date because of it not being submitted as in June 30th as we had originally thought. We had several issues with locating documents and files. The prior finance officer had no organization or filing status, so we've had to go through every piece of paper in this office to be able to find what we need to get the information in. We have also had agencies that we have funding through at the same time as finally getting the information to audit. We've had the North Carolina DEQ, we've had ARPA, we've had USDA, all making demands for information that was not supplied in the last 3 years. So not only are we trying to battle the audit, we're also trying to keep funding for much needed infrastructure work that needs to be done for the town's water sewer systems. We also have, of course, the ACE program, which we are a member of, and that is primarily, I have a coach that comes in and makes sure that I know exactly what I'm doing, and then they're also assisting us with IT and the financial assistance in helping us with one of our audits. Prior finance officer unfortunately left us in bad standing as far as bank accounts. We had several bounced checks. We had non-payments for several months. Utilities went unpaid for almost a year. We're back on track. Everything's caught up as of June 30th. All our vendors are paid, but financially, the money is not there. And we're also trying to get involved with maybe making some calls. Well, not maybe, we are making calls in reference to some fraudulent activity. So we are desperately begging for forgiveness and mercy at the same time. Our 21 audit when submitted was $33,500. $30,000 was for the audit. For the single audit fee was $3,500. Our 22 audit, which is going to be submitted, has everything put together. The final draft has been submitted. We're just waiting on Martin and Starnes to get everything they need together to get it submitted to you by September 30th. That audit is $31,500. Due to having the AIMS program and finding out them would cover one of our audits for us, we had to get a projected rate for our 23 audit. The projected cost for our 23 audit is $50,000. So it's a big jump from 21 and 22. That being said, I did coming in and worked up a budget for them for this fiscal year, not knowing that this was going to be an issue. I did budget what I thought was going to be 2 audits. Now knowing that the 23 audit is going to be $50,000, not knowing what the 24 audit is going to be. So I had already budgeted for this fiscal year to do 2 audits. And now that I know the projected cost of the 23, we're barely going to make that. So we're working on trying to, with the AIMS program, to get them to help cover definitely one of our audits for us. But we have worked, I've gotten the board to sign a letter agreeing that they will assist in any way possible to help us move forward, collecting information, getting data, putting it together, get everything needed when they get ready to do our 23 and 24 audit. We finally get everything separated to where we can now put hands on the information needed to get to the 22, 23, and 24 audit.
You referenced some concerns about fraud. Have you escalated those to the SBI or anyone else?
We have addressed interest. Sorry, I've got to keep it low on my end. We have expressed interest to the SBI through our Northampton County district attorney, and the ball has been dropped multiple times in that instance. We are still waiting to hear our concern that we've expressed about the SBI, and we still have not heard anything yet. And also, it was also posted messages was also sent to the state auditor as well of our concerns of fraudulent activity.
Thank you.
Any questions from members of the commission about Ridge Square? All right, thank you so much for being on the line. The town of Robbins is a unit that is 3 years behind. The last audit was filed 2 years ago. The town of Robbins has had challenges with its prior auditor, has a new auditor engaged as of now, and maybe can speak to us about where they are with the auditor in terms of getting caught up. But before we ask that, let's see what Laura wants to add.
The town of Robbins did describe in their appeal letter that they changed auditors after the fiscal year 2021 audit was submitted, and they were able to engage that auditor about 3 months after their previous one ended services. Since that engagement, they have not submitted the fiscal year 2022. We have information that the auditor has had difficulty in matching the numbers from the ending fiscal year to the new fiscal year. We considered that, but we did, from staff's perspective, we did not feel that it rose to the level of granting an appeal. It's concerning that they're 3 years late, but they did explain some of the information, some of the issues there that their auditor is facing.
Thanks, Laura. Town of Robbins, I know you have your town manager, Clint, back on the line, your finance director and the town clerk. Can you talk to us about your plans to get caught up and address where you are in working with your current auditor?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me fine?
Yep, we hear you. Thanks so much.
Great. Very similar story you all have heard. We're 3 years behind when I got here. We got caught up until 22, and our auditor abruptly left the business, I believe moved or stopped doing audits. Took us a while to procure another one. We've been working diligently with this auditor. It's taken some time. Have had meetings with LGC, with Ms. Boyle and Tomasco, and relayed this information that they, had to basically rebuild our file spreadsheets that was not handed over from our previous due to some sort of cyber IT problem. So we've been patient, but diligent up until the point of recently asking the auditor to attend this meeting and a board meeting with us to, again, get a detailed status, which was answered with a letter of requesting withdrawal to be our auditor. So we are attempting to hold their feet to the fire and getting monthly, bi-weekly updates. And, we have an experienced staff. Turnover has not been a whole issue. We had a new staff, have had new finance officers, but just due to, starting a family and stuff, we're confident, but we haven't got any feedback. I have a meeting with them next week to hand over our documents, but I can't make an auditor work faster as we've complied with all their requests. We are fiscally healthy. We are willing to spend the money for any outside agency to come and review and help pre-audit to ensure that there's multiple checks and balances through the audit process. We've reached out to our mentors, Central Pines Regional Government, to help us find, again, I don't want to start a new auditor and find out that there was some sort of bookkeeping issue, which I don't think it is, but we just want to make it as streamless as possible. And then we can get on a roll. This is the top priority of us and our board. So we are asking, we're a small town. We are requesting to give us time to figure this out and at least find a new auditor. And then we can have some direct information on what our shortcomings might be. But challenging us financially, is just adding to the issue at this point that we're trying to solve.
Thank you so much. And am I right that you have already paid the auditor that now wants to end the engagement on this audit? You've already paid them a certain amount for the work that has taken place.
Yes, ma'am. We paid them the first half up front. And they did do an extension in July of 23, and we have been requesting them to do an extension, but it seems to be more common practice just to wait until it's almost done, then submit the extension. And that's why I reached out to LGC just to ask for some guidance on how do you handle these situations when you're, didn't know at the time, but being essentially tugged along. I believe LGC actually gave them a chance to submit that audit with waivers to keep a good lookout on the next year, and if we would have 2 good years, they would do. But they denied it, saying that they were so close, they were confident they'd do it, and then withdrew.
Commissioner members, I can let Kendra speak to that, but I think that you might be raising the issue of your auditor had asked about submitting what's called a disclaimed audit, which my sort of layman description would be, we looked at the financial statements and that's all we can say is that we looked at them and we can't say they accurately represent the financial condition or not. The LGC's practice is not to accept disclaimed audits because we don't think it adds any value. Is that that's basically right?
I'm not sure that was, sorry.
What we have a history of asking of the auditors is that they do the work in order to be able to issue an opinion other than a disclaimed. If they can issue an opinion that says that there are certain pieces of the audited financial statements that they don't feel are materially correct, or if they could, but some of them are materially correct, then that's what we ask the auditors to do the work. When that happens and it takes a lot more work, then it does run up bills for units. So that is something that we would ask for amended contracts if there are having to be bills increased due to additional work that's needed to be done to provide some type of opinion other than a disclaimed opinion.
Thanks.
Just to be clear on the timeline on this one.
Sure.
When did the auditor send them the notice that they would like to withdraw?
I believe it was last week.
So they've been engaged for 2.5 years.
Yes. Yep. Sure.
And we have all the email records, sir, obviously, of, just constant updates of getting close. The only feedback we had with the second meeting last year was a description of, not reconciling cash, but net assets, and property type stuff. We reviewed those records, and that was it. Like I said, I've got almost 2 years of we're getting close, and it's very frustrating at this point. But we're committed to getting it done to be compliant.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion from commission members on the town of Robbins? All right. Moving on to the town of Siler City. Siler City is a unit that is 3 years behind on its audit. The last audit was filed about 2 years ago. And I want to bring up an issue that relates to Siler City and also relates to what we're doing here generally and why we're having this discussion. Units are required to submit their annual audit so that we can maintain oversight of their financial condition, obviously, and make sure that they are fiscally healthy. But there are consequences from being behind on your audit besides just being behind on your audit and besides the sales tax process. And so Siler City is a good example of this. Siler City has entered into an agreement with the town of Sanford to merge their water systems. I'm going to give you the very lay explanation, then Jennifer Wimmer can correct me on this. They have had this agreement going on for a few years. Siler City's water sewer system needs some work. It is the lower quality system in this merger, which I believe is a merger of a few different systems, and Sanford has, with the healthier system and the healthier finances, has agreed to merge Siler City in. That merger has been in the works for a while. The town of Sanford has already taken on a lot of different tasks related to this and incurred some expenses. And that merger cannot be completed until Siler City gets caught up on its audits. And so I just share that to you, not so much just to call it, not to call it Siler City, but also to convey that it's not just you're behind and so we can't check the box that says you're caught up. There are real impacts on the work of your unit and the work of other units when you're behind on your audit. So let me check what needs to be corrected on the water sewer description, please.
Denise basically told the commission that there is an issue, and it's now, the Sanford is taking on additional responsibilities, additional expenses, knowing that the interlocal agreement between Siler City and Sanford was signed a while ago, and they cannot continue with the merger until those audits are in. So it's preventing a merger of a system, which this commission has in past really wanted to encourage. So that's the issue.
That's right. Regionalization of these small water sewer systems is essentially the only way out of, or part of the way out of the situation that we are in, with many small governments across the state trying to run their own water sewer systems that need many millions of repairs beyond what they could ever increase their water and sewer rates to cover. And for that reason, as Jennifer said, this body has historically wanted to encourage those types of mergers and that kind of regionalization. And we're here today discussing this is the sort of thing that will. I think that's enough on that issue. Wanted to get that point across. And thanks, Sanford, for stepping up on this merger. Laura, can you give us a quick update on the status?
Sure. So Siler City is in the category of missing 3 years. And so with that analysis, we did not see anything that had occurred, major capacity that would explain why they're still missing those 3 years. They are working to fix bank reconciliations for 2022 to give to that auditor to complete. So it sounds like once that process or that project is done, maybe that will allow them to make further progress.
Thank you. One more thing that Kendra just reminded me, along with what I just said, before we turn to the town or any questions that you have. Many of the units across the state, or some units, I should say, across the state have loans from the USDA. And you know that some of our poorest units and some of our smallest units are able to get their financing through the USDA, where they're able to take out 40-year loans, which this commission would not approve an amortization schedule of that long, of that term. Part of the bond requirements and the contract requirements with the USDA is to stay up to date on audits and get the audits submitted. And because of that, you have all of these units that are in technical default on their loans from the USDA. Our team met with the team from the USDA recently because of their concern about North Carolina units being behind. And the USDA staff have just recently, maybe in the past week or two, begun sending out notices to these types of towns that you are in technical default on your debt, which is obviously a concerning place to be in. So just another implication or another what happens when you are behind on your audit, and not just the paperwork. Thanks for indulging me on that one. The town of Siler City has 3 staff on the line, or did: the finance director, the town manager, and the assistant town manager. Siler City, are you still there online?
Yeah, this is John O'Keefe, finance director. Start off the good news. Talked to the auditor Thursday. Their audit partner is doing their final review and sending off to their contractor for financial statement prep. So that should be filed in this month. I got here October 23. We quickly filed the 21 audit, but for the 22 and 23, we had previous to my arrival, we contracted Robert Half to do the bank reconciliations. I figured they were done. Bank reconciliations have been done July 23rd through current since then. But when the auditors were reviewing 2022, they were going to have a disclaimed opinion based on those bank reconciliations. So through the last little bit, have had to redo the 2022 and 23 bank reconciliations. Those are now done, and should be going smoothly going forward, especially now that we don't have utilities under me as well.
Thank you. Any questions from the group? The town of Speed. The town of Speed is one that I want to discuss some particular issues with this group. Speed is a town in Edgecombe County. You'll see under the population, there's a population of 65 in this town. The last audit was filed over 3 years ago, and they are 3 years behind on their audits. So this was a staff recommendation to deny. But what I want to let you know is that the town council and mayor have been in discussion over the past few months about doing a voluntary dissolution of this town. They have been working with the League of Municipalities. Thank you, League, for working with them to make this decision. And we understand that making the decision to dissolve a town ultimately is not so much of a financial decision as an emotional decision, and a hard emotional decision to make, grappling with that sense of community and that sense of place and a fear of losing that. And we certainly understand that would be or may seem very easy to sit in Raleigh and say this town should dissolve, but it's very challenging for unit staff out on the ground. And so I really commend the town of Speed for considering making this move. All of that to say, the League of Municipalities and working with them has asked us for a draft dissolution resolution for the town, which the town has indicated it intends to pass at its October meeting, which is the evening after our October meeting. My recommendation to you would be to defer a decision on Speed's appeal. And the reason is, under the statutes that govern this whole appeal process, there are 2 ways to get back the sales tax money that is withheld by Secretary Wooden's team. You can get your audit in, or 2 years can pass. So if the town of Speed does in fact move ahead with dissolving on June 30th, they will not have the audits in. 2 years will not have passed. I believe there is a plan already for where the additional town assets will go. What we've seen in prior towns, I believe Centerville and Franklin County was the last dissolution, and any remaining money went to the volunteer fire department. I'm not saying that is Speed's plan, but whatever the plan is, what you're looking at if you do this withholding and then they do dissolve is a logistical complexity that I do not want to put on the town, because I want to encourage them to continue with this hard decision they're considering doing. I'd like you to consider postponing this until at least the October meeting, should have a sense that day of what they're going to do. I can give you an update at that time, and then you may want to in fact defer this to your November meeting. If they have not voted to dissolve, then at that point, I think that the staff recommendation would be strongly to move forward with it.
Secretary, do you need a motion specific to that? So we remove that from our discussion of.
So I think that if you do choose not to include that one on the denial or make any changes on these, you will vote for the resolution as amended, and we will strike speed from it.
I just want to add on. Sure. The decision to dissolve a unit is a courageous one. It is hard. They have come to it after months and years of discussion, and I think it is the right one for them. And for any other towns who are struggling with whether they want to be a town, league, staff of the LGC is happy to help you think through that decision. Again, not an easy decision, not a decision we will ever make for you. You have to know that that's right for you. We have resources, and we're happy to help you think through it. If that's something you want to consider.
Thank you for adding that. What's the will of the group? Do you want Laura to go through the factors, and do you want to hear from the town? No, I'm hearing no. You're good with deferring this one. Okay.
Quick question. If the town did dissolve, what happens? The whole audit thing, it just vaporizes, I guess.
Sure.
Which is fine. I mean,
Basically, yep.
they don't need, there's no like, we don't step in and close out their books, so to speak.
I'm going to speak to the East Laurinburg process. That's a little bit different because we were in control of their finances.
Yeah, well, we were in control of the finances. And in this case, I'm not sure for speed what purpose it serves. So I don't know that to do an audit, it would spend money that they may not have.
There's not a whole lot of precedent.
Yeah, there's not a lot of precedent there.
No, there are a lot of logistical hurdles to work through at the very granular level of closing down a town. And I should also add that Edgecombe County has definitely stepped up to the table to be a partner with them and to figure out what services may need to be taken on. So, I mean, you're even looking at things like who is paying this bill and how do we cancel that bill and who has the password to this account and who's going to pay for streetlights if residents want streetlights outside of their town? Do residents know how to contract for private trash pickup if the county doesn't provide it? I mean, there are a lot of logistical things that, because those questions do come up, and that's partly why I'd rather we not add another hurdle to while we wait to see what they do. So thanks for the question. All right, we're getting close to the end on these. The town of Spring Lake is a unit that is 3 years behind on its audits. The fiscal 2020 audit, as you see on your chart, was last submitted. It was 4 years ago, but I do want to point out to you that the fiscal 21 audit was waived. Those of you that have been on the commission for a while will know that the LGC was in control of the books of, I'm probably taking Laura's whole thing, it was in control of the books of Spring Lake for a while. Our view on taking over the books of Spring Lake was we are keeping the lights on, we are getting the bills paid, and leaving the books in good shape so that when we turn them over to you, you should be able to get them audited in short order. That has not happened. Would you like to add?
Sure, yes. And so Spring Lake does have a bit of a unique history in that, or they're in a unique circumstance because they do have the history of control over the years. It's in looking at and considering their appeal, it was staff's consideration that when control was returned last summer, that the books were in good order and that we didn't receive information about why, since returning control, they couldn't even get one audit. So that they're missing 3 years. And I would note that there's another unit on this list that has a history of the LGC assuming control. That's Robertsonville. They were missing 3 years back in April, but they improved their condition and submitted one audit, and so now they're missing 2 years. They did have staff turnover since control was returned. That did meet a criteria for us, and so we did recommend to grant their appeal. But that's all to call out that we had units with sort of this history, and we have one sitting where it is, and we have another one sitting where it is. And so that's where we landed with our recommendation for Spring Lake.
We have 2 people on the line from Spring Lake. We have the finance director and the town manager. Can you speak to the question of how you are getting caught up? What the plan is to get from here to off this list?
This is John Roy, the town manager for Spring Lake. I'm going to defer this to Jimmy, our finance director, Jimmy Overton.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. We have submitted to the LGC an unaudited financial statement for the year 21. In order to prepare that, if you will look at that, I know you probably don't have a copy in front of you, there were numerous prior period adjustments that we had to make to the fiscal year 2020, along with corrections to fiscal year 21 in order to get those books corrected. The town hired Greg Isley's firm to do the bookkeeping for 22 and going forward, and they mainly worked on getting the bank accounts reconciled. All the bank accounts are reconciled and up to date. I just got to do the month of August. We submitted to our auditors, Cherry Beckert, the trial balance for 22 a little over a week ago. All of the adjustments have been made. I am currently working on drafting the financial statements for 22. All of the adjustments are done for 23 and 4. Once Cherry Beckert finishes the 22, we will be able to move forward with 23 and 4. I do not know for sure if Cherry Beckert is going to do those audits in the future. I have spoken with 3 other auditing firms, one being Greg Isley's group, also Carl Riggs and Ingram, where I used to work, and also Tom Winston Williams of Creech. Winston Williams said they do not have time to work on the audits for 23 and 4. Mr. Isley said that his firm is willing to do those audits, and Cherry Beckert may be willing to do those audits when they finish 22. But we have all of the adjustments done for 22, and we have given that information to the auditors, and they are currently working on the 22 audit. And I should have the draft statements sometime in the next few weeks. So I'm working on those now.
Thank you, Mr. Overton. Questions from commission members about Spring Lake or to Spring Lake? Since there are fewer and fewer questions as we go, we are now to the town of Taylortown, as many people in person. Oh, no, did I miss somebody?
You're good.
Taylortown, thank you for your endurance. Happy to see you here. And the town of Taylortown is 2 years behind on its audits. The last audit was filed about more than 2.5 years ago. I'll let Laura give an update, and then we can address our questions too. If you have 2 people you want to go ahead and send forward to answer the questions, that'd be great.
So Taylortown is in the category of missing 2 years, and as we went through the process, as I explained before, we did not see anything in their 2025 appeal letter that would have been the recent occurrence that would have explained why the 2 years are still. So that recommendation landed on denying that.
Thank you. Mr. Gaskins, good to see you before the commission. For those of you that have been watching this work for a while, Greg Gaskins formerly sat in my seat as Secretary of the Local Government Commission. So great.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here in front of the commission on this side for a change. And I beg the indulgence of the staff and and Mr. Treasurer and all of the members of the commission. Because what I'm going to say is a little bit unusual, and I know because I've been on that side. There's a number of unusual things I've discovered in the past 3 weeks. I am an attorney with Gaskins, Hancock, Tuttle, Hash. I'm not the Gaskins in the name, just in case you were wondering. I'm of counsel to the firm. I have been working with a senior partner, Jerry Hancock, in both the area of local governments and also working with nonprofits. The firm actually was representing the town. They were sued by a developer. And what the firm was hired to do initially was to defend them, and has successfully defended them, and has achieved a settlement, which is to the agreement of both the town and the suing party. And that has been resolved. In the course of doing that, one of the partners asked me to meet with the town and talk with them about this issue, which we're here for today. I'm going to tell you right up front, I have told Denise this, I have told Kendra this. We plead guilty on, there's not enough in those answers to do that. We're in fact working with a representative from the league, Richard Marvin, who's here, on actually getting that resolved. That's in the short term. In the long term, there are a whole lot of reasons related to why they are where they are. Unfortunately, I have not had time to work with the staff, Carolyn and I and her staff, to work with the staff on all of those reasons. But what makes it more complicated is there is a legal issue involved. After consultation, actually I stepped out of the room, and after consultation with the senior partner, I am reluctant. I am advising the town not to talk about that issue in a public forum. I believe it's inappropriate for the town, not an advice that any attorney would give them to talk about. Now, that makes it very difficult for the town to explain completely their situation. We are asking a deferment of this until we can confer with your staff. And quite honestly, you know, Jerry and I need to do a little bit of work related to this so that we can talk to your legal staff about that. So what we're really requesting is a deferment. What I want you to know, and I want to introduce Carolyn to let you introduce the people that are here, that it is my opinion, after spending time with them, that they are completely committed to the goals of what the UAL started, and also to working, Kendra, with the staff. There was a problem with that. We'll plead guilty on that too. I'll plead that for them. We want to work on that, and we want to fix it. And so I'm asking for deferment. I would ask for 60 days deferment on this decision so that we can work with staff, and also so that Jerry and I can work out the legal technicality of how we explain the part of this that may be subject to a subsequent lawsuit on behalf of the town. And if I could, you know, I would like Carolyn just to introduce, this is Carolyn Cole, who's the town manager. If you could introduce the people who are here today, Carolyn.
I will. I've been the town manager, or started out town administrator, town manager for Taylor Town since February 2024. So I would say that the first people that need to be thanked would be the citizens of Taylor Town, because it was the citizens who made the decision to make a change in their government to be able to move forward and clarify some of these issues. And it was the citizens who went to the state auditor's office to ask for assistance, which I give also credit to Nick Angel and Darren Dubose, who was very helpful to us through an investigation from April to November 2024. With me here today are the people who committed themselves as elected officials to making change. And that is Mayor Sidney Gaddy, like I call the roll. Mayor Pro Tem Nadine Moody, Councilwoman Bridget Cotton, Councilwoman Andrea Parker, and I'd also like to introduce Mr. Jeffrey Moody, who served for 20 years on the town council and who's the vice chair of the planning commission. Mr. Moody, we're also proud of the fact that he is an Olympic athlete, track star. And we also have Mr. Gary Brown here with us. Gary is also a former town council member and is the current chair of the planning commission. Let's see, staff, we have Patricia Jacobs, who handles HR for us. We have Darnell Price, who is our public works director, water, sewer, all that good stuff. And we have Calvin Blanton, who is our finance manager, and Jerry Hardaway, who's helping us out with culture and leisure services and helping us to get a newsletter going for our town.
And Richard Marvin, Richard from the league is
from the
here,
league, yes.
who has been providing valuable assistance to us.
And I don't want to omit that by any stretch of the imagination because the league, Richard stepped in with ARP reporting to help us to make sure that we knew how to do that. One of the first things that we did in terms of the council was when I found out, talking to the different council members, that they had not been to any training beyond their initial ethics training, and that it was always frowned upon for them to go to training. So one of the first things that we did was to commit ourselves to training. Since then, we've been to the league training for finance with the lead instructor being Sharon Edmondson. Down in Greenville, that was Mayor Gaddy, Mayor Pro Tem Moody. Also, our online is our attorney, Dominique Cam, and former town clerk, Michaela Sinclair. We also went to HR training under the league with Lou Bunch. Lou Bunch, that was Councilwoman Bridget Cotton, and that was Mayor Gaddy, Mayor Pro Tem Moody. We also went to the BUMPS training, Best Utilities Management Practices. That would have been with Mayor Gaddy, Darnell Price, Calvin Blanton, Councilwoman Andrea Parker. So everywhere that we can step in and get the training and support, we're doing that because it's important for them way past my time with them.
And I think that given the time and everything,
okay,
we will stop there and obviously answer any questions that you want.
I want to say we're in the AIM program.
Well, we are.
We did, council did address being in the AIM program. We actually signed the resolution, returned it to NCLM, attended the first dinner, and we're, as they told us, we're one of the few entities that actually asked to be in the AIM program. So we're looking forward to that mentorship in terms of financial training and cyber.
Thank you. Question, sorry, Secretary.
Just a quick question about, is there have we done deferrals before? Do we have a precedent for doing deferrals?
Well, this is only the second year,
Right.
but other than asking you, recommending that you wait on speed to see if they dissolve, no, you haven't done that. You haven't considered that for any of the units that you discussed today.
I was gonna ask a math question around that.
Oh,
Right, so if we're round numbers, if we're 5%, 5% per month, and sales tax revenue for the town is $300,000, $400,000 a year.
yeah,
For 60 days, we're talking about less than $2,000. That's what we're talking about.
And the math is done on the monthly expenditures, not sales.
But I'm just trying to get to 60 days. What are we talking about in terms of dollars? It's probably less than $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
And you think within 60 days, this is resolved to the point where you can have a plan for audit?
Well, I think within 60 days, well, potentially yes, but we are working with the auditor that completed a draft 23 audit, right? Completed. Who has not turned it over to us even though he's been paid. That may be a legal issue, but we don't know that yet. We have not talked directly to them. We are going to, but we have not. That's one part of it. The other part of it is there are some bank information that is necessary that 2 banks have failed to give the town. That also may require legal action. In order to get that information from the bank, we may have to sue them. And that legal action is not the legal action that I'm concerned about. I'll tell you that. But that information and that audit information we need. Now, we are already working with the league to get a new auditor because we're anticipating that we're not going to be able to keep that audit. So I certainly can't answer for sure if that's possible. In 60 days, I think we can tell you that it's, that yes, here's their plan and so forth. I think in 60 days we could do that. But, what that plan is, I couldn't tell you today. And I don't think Carolyn could or anybody else today.
If I can follow up. The request for deferral is for us to wait for you to come back with a plan on how to get your audits. Is that what the deferral would be?
The deferral would be everything you're going to do today, except for the fact you're going to have different input from your staff. About what I tell you. We could talk about all the stuff we wanted to, and it still wouldn't be what your staff has seen. It would be different.
Well, what I'm trying to understand is what waiting the deliverable that we can expect in 60 days. What might we expect? And I know you can't give us details. You've been clear about that.
Yeah.
But what would there be something so potentially that we might come to a different decision?
Yes. For example, quite properly, what Kendra talked about was that the answers to 3 questions would be different than what the staff saw, right? In 60 days, the answers is going to be different first. Secondly, I hope that we can clarify enough that we can go into detail about what the extraordinary circumstances are related to Taylortown, which I think would be helpful for the board to make a decision. If we could not, for one of those reasons, do that, then the decision might be the exact same decision. I'm perfectly aware of that. And either way, the town will have initiated work, both here and working with the league, towards having a new auditor. And even if it wasn't enough, it would have that and tell you this is the plan, what's going forward. They couldn't tell you today.
And if I might just ask, what's the general budget, general fund budget?
A little over 1.5.
Thank you.
Unlike some units that have been in this situation, Taylortown's prospects are excellent. If they can get this solved, and there's some other potential there that just doesn't exist in many of the units that are faced with this.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, thank you both.
Thank you.
All right. You have heard all the denials. We have 2 resolutions drafted for you. We have one for granting appeals, which we have filled out with grant units, but obviously can change. And then we have one for the denial. And as I said, we can amend those as needed.
Why don't I
What's
make a
the-
motion to pass a resolution for granting appeals left for discussion?
I think the
Should we amend
question
both
would
of
be, are there any units that are on one list that you want on the other?
That's right, okay. Well, that was my intent where I was trying to
Yep,
open the floor for discussion. So Robert's rules,
that's all right. But we can open it for discussion.
yeah, and then I might accept them. However you want to do it.
I see. You're motioning to approve the recommendation to grant. So the question is, any discussion on that
Any
one?
discussion and then,
The discussion would include if someone wants to move a deny to be a grant, then that would be part of the discussion.
And sorry, is it deferment, a grant? What are we gonna do with that? Is that a third motion?
That would be a third different motion, I think.
yeah.
Because I think that one is speed, we almost have to handle.
Lots of different ways to deal with that.
Yes, let's get Cindy to
So,
weigh
yeah,
in.
'cause that's a deferral as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think you need a resolution to wait. Yeah. Yep.
So maybe that's the simplest one to deal with. I would move to table the decision on speed until we have resolution around their dissolution.
You
I'd
want to
like
put
to
a
put a
time frame
deadline
on
on
that?
that
60 days?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Is
60 days.
Yeah,
October,
that's right.
For the November meeting.
the November meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Do
would
I hear,
second that.
do I hear a second? All right.
Discussion.
Mr. Tool. Cindy,
Call for
you
discussion.
caught up with us. And again, the motion is specifically.
I think Thomas
Sorry,
has a question.
Mr.
Yeah,
Stick-
question. I guess that my question would be, if we're doing the 60-day deferral on speed, well, you already have a first and a second, so a friendly amendment to add Taylortown. Because I think we had 2 people ask for deferral. So my thought would be, or my friendly amendment would be Taylortown and speed for 60 days.
I'd like to propose that we discuss Taylortown separately. Because it's, yeah.
All right, so procedurally, where does that leave us?
Has been declined.
I think that's right.
Motion.
Yeah.
In a
Yes.
friendly manner, okay.
It'd be better for me to just withdraw my motion. Yeah, I don't want to get you caught up in,
Save that. Just-
I will withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Now,
That
we're
way we can
dealing-
accomplish my
We gotta
goal.
Right.
anyway.
We're dealing with a motion to
You
hold
have a motion on
a table or hold the town of Speed's issue for until the November. meeting.
That's right.
That instead of 60.
Yes, November meeting.
Seconded by Mr. Tool.
That's right.
All right. Ready to vote? Auditor Bolick,
Yes.
Secretary Wooten,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey is absent. Councilman Huffman.
Yes.
Commissioner. Yes. Yes. Mr. Stiff.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's everyone. I get it. Miss anybody? No motion. Oops.
So you could go a couple of different ways here. Obviously, it's up to you. You could move into making a motion for a similar similar decision on Taylortown. Or you could go through and say, who on the deny list do you want to pull off that list? And eventually you might get to Taylortown and discussing that or not. What's the, you want to get through that most expediently?
I'm okay having a conversation about Taylortown. And just, I don't have yet an opinion yet. But since that's on Commissioner Smith's mind, let's chat.
I don't have a lot of chat left in me, given the hour, candidly. I mean, we've done a lot of chatting and a lot of listening. I do have an opinion, and I think they provided enough information, different scenarios, but they're asking for a deferral for 30 to 60 days. And I'm just of the opinion, based on the work they've done, the information we've listened to over the course of this meeting, that I would be inclined to grant that deferral. And you know, whether it's our October, it seems like they wanted it at our November meeting, and we can make a final decision then, whether they grant or deny.
Would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion to that effect, that we grant the town of Taylortown defer it until our November meeting.
A second?
I'll second that.
Anyone?
Second.
I have a sort of a procedural question. I remember that you weren't voting on some of these. Sorry.
Yeah, but this one is to defer, because the decision
Right.
hasn't been.
It's not- Okay,
Yeah.
second. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Second from Secretary Wooten. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I'll just weigh in. Although I have no opinion yet, it just doesn't seem like a lot of money. I'm not yet convinced that deferral brings anything new that changes behavior on the part of the commission. So unlike the matter for speed, where there is something imminent that would be, we know would be game changing, I'm not, we got a promise there might be something game changing, but we don't know what it might be. And that's why I'm less eager to take on a deferral in this matter. Plus, I'm also convinced by the fact they got $1.5 million budget, and the amount of money here is not going to be game changing for this particular unit. So that's my comment.
I completely concur. I am sympathetic that there could be something that we learned in 60 days potentially, but we have to operate on a clear line. If there were charges filed, if there was some other evidence that I could point to that is definitive, I'd feel much more comfortable for any of these units for that matter.
I agree with that. I find it very convincing in terms of expectations.
Well, I'm kind of new to this, and I promised Denise I wouldn't say anything.
I did not extract it. It was voluntarily offered.
I'm of the opinion that today or 60 days from now, the decision that we make will be in line with what we do. So basically, they come back in 60 days and nothing's happened, then they're denied, period. No other conversation. So I don't have a problem waiting the 60 days just to see if what he's saying is going to come forward makes any difference. That's just my opinion.
And I guess my similar position is that because today, with the day in which the arguments needed to be made, council's position is that I'm not in a position to give the information that needs to be given today. And so that for me supports my position that, like Ms. Johnson, that in 60 days, information or not, then, but for me, I think that they're at a different position, that they're not able to give all the information today. And I respect the position that was given, that for legal purposes, that like other folks who showed up today who were able to, or on the phone, were able to, here's my appeal language, and they were not in the same position to give their appeal argument today for that
Other discussion on the unit and on the motion to grant 60 days for the other town, or to delay the decision until November. All right, hearing none, we had a motion and a second. Cindy, will you call this one?
Yes, so this is for Taylortown, defer to the November meeting, deferring the decision. Stiff motion, Wooten second. Mr. Tool.
I'll support it.
Auditor Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
oh, sorry, absent. Councilwoman Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
treasurer?
No.
So the ayes have it.
Right.
61, no, 7.
Thank you, Cindy. The motion passes. Now you have back before you, no motions on the floor, but 2 resolutions, a resolution to grant and a resolution to deny. What's the, well, the body, obviously, we will take Taylortown out of the deny, and we will take speed out of the deny. So any motion to approve that resolution will need to be as amended.
I would move to transfer Chakawinity from deny to grant based on everything we've heard today.
I would second that. I would also move the town of Robbins.
Oh, yeah. Let's move on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's go one at a time.
Discussion on Chakawinity.
Yeah, give it a minute.
Could you share your
So, yeah.
2 reasons?
So the motion and a second.
There was
Yes.
clear fraud in that town that is extremely extensive and complicated to clean up. It's no different than a natural disaster of another kind. And so I have some sympathy that there's good faith effort to catch up. And with the soft promise of 3 audits, I'll look forward to watching them get through all that recovery. Thank you.
Any other discussion on moving Chakawinity to grant? Cindy, are we voting for a separate resolution at this point, or is this just an informal agreement
yeah.
to move it?
I say, seems like it's right to vote to move it. So it's just, when we do the grant, it'll be,
Yeah,
it'll be
yeah.
part of the grant.
Okay.
Is that- is
I'm
there a
moving
second?
it to the approved.
I'm sorry.
Moving it to the
You're-
approved.
Yes.
The motion was.
Really
Okay.
just grant it.
Seems like it
You're
is.
voting to move something in the draft
I
anyway.
mean, yes, a little bit.
Well,
Unwieldy, and the alternative would have been to present you with 28 different resolutions, and
No, we don't want that.
we decided not to do that to you, so this is a bit of the outcome of that.
I'm okay if you don't mind just marching through if there's any others, and then we can move them all at one time. We're pretty disciplined.
Quite agree.
First choice was Chakawinity.
All right, I will walk the group through maybe a bit quickly on the list. You'll tell me if there's a problem with where they are.
I don't know that there's other than.
I think Robbins might be the only other one.
Oh, great.
So should we vote on Chakawinity and just vote on Robinson? That's the simplest.
Yeah, I only had one other question about Columbus.
Okay, let's hear the
It's only
question.
because it was Polk County and because they were victims of a lien in massive forest fires over the last 12 months.
The only concern I have about that is that in their appeal letter, they never mentioned.
I understand. But I've sat through the Council of State meeting and listened to Commissioner Troxler talk about one fires and.
Of course, you're right. It would also be the first sentence I would write now.
I've had judges bail me out.
That sounds like a story that shouldn't go.
I don't know. That's all I'd say is, I mean, I'm with Robbins because I felt like there was sincerity with respect to the fact that there was a CPA that let them down and they communicated with the staff of the LGC. And that's my thought, but I don't know what you thought, Secretary.
Going back to your motion, what if you were to make a motion to approve the resolution to grant appeals as amended, and the amendment will be add Columbus, add Chakawinity, add Robbins?
Make a motion to move the Motion as, I mean, what would this be? Resolution in our package with,
To grant.
for the granting as presented with following additions. We're going to add Chakawinity, Robbins,
Columbus.
and what was the third one? I'm sorry.
Columbus.
Columbia.
Columbus.
Columbus. Sorry, all due respect.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Brown. A second from anyone?
Second.
Sorry, and also clarify that the summary would be updated.
That's right, yep.
During the discussion at the meeting about why.
Yep. The resolution incorporates the why. So, yep. All right. With staff amendments to update the description. Thanks, Sarah. A second?
Good luck with that sentence.
I'll second.
Thanks, Senator Bullock.
This is the one for that.
All right, this is the grant as amended.
Right, and we're gonna pause for legal. Now, everything's, God willing, the recording is clear, but we want to make sure we are articulating your specific reasons why the three are moving over. So I think we got Chakawinity.
Right.
I'll articulate Columbus
Yes, please.
because Polk County was hit hard by Hurricane Helene and also a series of wildfires over the last 12 months. Natural disasters.
Just in Chakawinity, you mentioned the
Right
fraud.
from the fraud.
That's basically.
I think for Robbins, although the word fraud was not used because of the issues with the former auditor, and they're finding out last week that they paid for something that they've not gotten yet. The word fraud was not used, but I think that was significant enough to me. Although the word fraud was not used today.
All right, and so the motion to adopt this resolution before you granting appeals, here it is, granting appeals, and the added units will be Chakawinity, Columbus, and Robbins. The motion is Brown, second by Bullock.
That's right.
All right. Mr. Toole.
Yes.
Secretary Wooten.
Yes.
Absent. Councilman Hubbard.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Treasurer Briner.
Reluctantly, yes.
Unanimous.
All right, thanks. A motion.
To find out, the 5 o'clock door lock has occurred, so the y'all's badges were.
I does.
Yes, okay, so if you need to leave. Yeah, sorry. I didn't even know. Thank you for leaving. If anything else needs to leave. we'll help you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for bearing with us.
Oh, that's nice. All right, and then, oh, sorry. Are we good? So now you have a resolution to deny in front of you that you have taken some accounts out of. I will tell you that, look over to legal while I say this. I think that you don't technically have to vote to deny because the statute takes it away unless you grant an appeal. But out of an abundance of caution and thoroughness, we have presented you this resolution to deny. And looking for a motion to pass that resolution as amended, and the amendment is taking out the 5 counts that you have just acted on.
So I will make that motion to move the resolution to deny.
Make a motion to.
Sounds, I believe, are coming off the back of this thing.
We'll play the Jeopardy music.
Okay, let's see if I get this right. Town of Chakawinity
Yes.
is out. Town of Columbus.
Yeah.
Town of Robbins,
Yes.
and then by default, Town of Speed and town of Taylortown are coming off of
Right. Yeah.
the bit.
Thank you so much.
Second.
And we have a motion. Second, Treasurer Briner.
Mine is a standing abstention on.
Yes, and one abstention.
Yep.
All right. Last resolution on this, the denials minus the 5 that we just mentioned, because 2 are being deferred, 3 are being granted. Brown, Reiner, Mr. Tool,
Yes.
you, Holly Bolick,
Yes.
you, Secretary is abstaining. Brown, yes. Councilwoman Hoffman?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Stiff?
He didn't hear you.
You didn't hear.
Can't hear?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. That was, 7-0. That motion carries.
Right.
All right, I'd like just to ask that we consider for guidance for the next round of these in a year, that we consider evaluating the impact of retaining all of these funds on the budget. On some of these units, it's no impact. On some of them, it's 6 to 8% of their budget, which I come to wonder whether that's going to impact their ability to deliver at all. Yes, they shouldn't have been behind. I'm all on that, but I really think we run the risk of not getting the outcome we want if we take too much cash away from them. And I'd like to have some way to evaluate that.
Well, one thing I was thinking about is whether we allow municipalities to access these funds to be paid directly to auditors. Which is an expense they're going to incur anyway.
Yeah.
And allows us to deal with that issue.
I'm okay with that. We need to think this problem through.
I was going to ask that exact question, like if it's all to secure, meant to encourage the audit, well, they can draw upon it to have the discretion to do that. Seems.
Thank you.
I think it's part of the larger discussion that I don't want to lead you into now, but that we did have last week a little bit at the last meeting, getting back to the question of what are we trying to do? Obviously, right now, this is a statutory requirement, so we've carried it out, but I think it is appropriate for this body not just to come and approve debt every month, or not just to hear about these units once a year when they are on the notice of withholding, but what are we doing in between? And what are we doing to ensure the financial health of units so that they're not on the list in the first place? But again, it's the 5 o'clock door lock has already happened, so it's certainly not a discussion for now, but some sort of postmortem on this process might be helpful. We'll also note it started in April and now it is September, and this has used a significant amount of staff time. And comparing that to the benefit, I think there's some sort of discussion to be had before we go through this again next year. I do want to thank Laura publicly for getting us through all of this and all the heavy lifting on that, and of course the towns as well.
Yeah, I will just add, I really appreciate the work staff put into synopsizing and synthesizing this. It was really valuable, so thank you for that.
Thanks for saying that. Take us to the last item on the agenda, which is attachment F, the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools issue. As you saw in the materials that were sent out to you, and as I'm sure you've seen in the news, Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools has a significant budget deficit of, last numbers I've seen, about $46 million. And as you know, the Auditor Bullock's office put out a rapid response special report detailing the financial management failures in the unit that contributed to the financial situation in the school system. Auditor Bullock's office then reached out to the State Board of Education and to me as chair of the Secretary of the Local Government Commission, asking that we act under a section of statute that requires that if the State Board of Education finds financial mismanagement, and in this case, that was not all identified by the original auditor that did the unit's audit, that the State Board of Education and the Local Government Commission employ an outside firm to do an internal controls audit of the school system. What we have sent you and what you have in front of you is a resolution that would direct the secretary and staff to work with DBI to carry that out in short order and acting with expediency to do so. I have heard from you that this is a priority. Obviously, you have a legal requirement to act, but it's also concerning and something that we would want to partner with the State Board of Education to help them. We have reached out to peers in the audit community and to the State Board of Audit. Don't let me say the wrong thing. The North Carolina Association of CPAs, to ask for some recommendations of auditors who might be able to do this type of work that we can pass along to the staff at the State Board of Education. I'm not recommending to you that you recommend one specific auditor. I'm not sure that you want to get in the business of recommending one firm over another, but certainly using our staff's expertise to find out the kinds of firms in that geographic area that may have the expertise and capacity to do this work is something that we can do as staff to be helpful to move this process along more quickly. You have the resolution in front of you, and I'll open this item for discussion. Auditor Bullock, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to start with.
Just briefly, we presented this to the State Board of Education, of which the treasurer sits on that board. The State Board of Education voted to find management failures, which complies with the statute. There's not a lot of statutory teeth with respect to those types of management failures and oversight from the state level, but this was one statutory provision that does dial both the State Board of Education and the LGC into some level of oversight. The purpose, public policy purpose of employing an independent auditor to look at processes and controls is to take it out of the hands of the currently employed auditor with Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, which we made no opinion about their abilities, but they were not just that audit firm did not bring to light what our team was able to bring to light. It would also not necessarily be fair, given our findings, for us to go in and implement independent controls. So that's the public policy as best I can read it and my legal team can read it of the statute. Hopefully it will help to right the ship in Winston-Salem and Forsyth County to get their budgetary problems under control. They're very serious. And I got our report, probably read it in the news, but $46 million short, fourth largest school system in the state of North Carolina, with no plan. And that was the response from the school system, no plan to fix it. So whatever, I'd ask this board, I'll make the motion if I need to, but I would ask the board to pass the resolution. Let's move this along and give the parents and students and citizens of Forsyth County some support.
I'd like to commend the auditor's office for comprehensive investigation into this. I've got 4 teenagers, so I don't get mad very often. But reading this makes me so angry for the people in Forsyth County who elected school board who obviously wasn't paying attention back to 2017. And I bet if you kept going further, you would have seen more. So the abject failure for the students of Forsyth County makes me mad, makes me sad. Thank you for identifying it. And I think the State Board made the right call, mismanagement. If you can't find mismanagement here, you'll never find mismanagement. So it's very clear that we've got to act on this resolution.
I'd like to add a logistical comment, which is that we noted this in the resolution, but under state rulemaking, the staff of the LGC approves all audit contracts, as you heard through the last discussion that we had. And for that reason, the language of the resolution does not direct the secretary to enter into a contract with an audit firm. I think it would be a little bit, I don't think it would be appropriate in that case. And so that's why I just wanted to make clear the text of the resolution directs the secretary to assist, provide information, work with. But to the extent that we bring a contract back to you when it is approved, I'm not expecting you to see a trilateral contract. I'm expecting this to be a contract between the state board and with our support, and of course, us to move as quickly as possible to approve it. So thanks for letting me add that. Any other questions or comments about this issue?
This is Thomas. I just want to concur and just thank Auditor Bullock for bringing this to our attention and his team for doing diligent work. And hopefully this will get things on track. I would make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Stead, Mr. Tool. First and second. All right. Now we'll go to the motion.
Winston Salem Site County Schools Resolution. Steph Tool. Auditor Bullock.
Yes.
Secretary Wooten.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Johnson. Yes. President Briner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you.
Out of curiosity, just for level setting, how long do we expect it to take to identify an auditor, get them on under contract, and get a report back? Is this a year process-ish?
From a statutory perspective, they've got to have remedial internal controls in place by the end of the fiscal year. So 6/30/2026 is the goal that we're all working towards. One of the concerns at the State Board of Education level was the ongoing fiscal 2025 financial audit. They want to see that complete by October, after which they begin the internal control audit, is the thinking. So what we're trying to do is balance the workload on the school district who's trying to recover on the two different audits. But with that end of the fiscal year goal.
And I will say this, just because we completed this special report and because we brought this to both the state board and the LGC does not preclude our office from doing additional work and performing additional audit work in Forsyth County. We're not precluded. Just because we finished one report doesn't mean we can't go back. Thank you.
Any other discussion before Cindy calls? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Long day.
Wrap it up. Motion to adjourn now.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thanks. First and a second.
My activation. Yes.
Good to see you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Denise, great job wrangling a long meeting. Good job.
How you doing? I didn't get a chance.